Chapter 1140. Don't come back. Yuju's soul will pierced into the grayish-white groove that was stuck in the dragon beheading platform and gradually affected by its power like a sharp blade. She knew that as the master of the dragon beheading platform, Yu Yuan would definitely be able to hear it. Don't come back. Yui sent out another wisp of soul will as she pressed her finger on her forehead. Mysterious demonic patterns appeared on Yui's smooth, sparkling forehead. Through the soul connection between Yu Yuan and the baleful demon cauldron, she accurately transmitted the complete images of the primordial blood continent to him. In this way, Yu Yuan would understand how many experts Grek had on the primordial blood continent after his resurrection. She was worried that Yu Yuan, who had entered the primordial blood continent for the first time, hadn't figured out the real situation yet. She wanted to tell Yu Yuan again how unwise it was to come here at this moment. Tan Chun Shan, Chen Qinghuang, Ancient God Golden Elephant, King Wei Ling, and many blood demon elders all stared deeply at the groove with complicated looks in their eyes. They all sensed Yu Yuan's rapidly growing aura from it. This meant that the first human brat to set foot on the primordial blood continent was still rushing in without hesitation, even though he knew that Grek's resurrection had succeeded and that everyone present had been heavily besieged. Ancient God Golden Elephant was inwardly surprised. He felt that Yu Yuan was simply throwing away her life. King Wei Ling of the Devil's Palace had a grim look on his face as other thoughts came to his mind. Yu Yuan was not only far more talented than Mo Yen, but he was also far more courageous than Mo Yen. After all, Mo Yen didn't even know the situation on this continent. He was only afraid of Yu Yuan and didn't dare to set foot in it. But Yu Yuan? He knew that this place was dangerous and that once he entered, he would most likely die, but he still approached it at an extremely fast speed. You didn't lose unjustly. You deserve to die, King Wei Ling said to himself. Hee. Meng Ke laughed sinisterly. As he clapped and cheered, he gestured to his clansmen under the dark red sky. Earth-shattering laughter suddenly sounded from all directions. 100-meter-long, green-scaled, triangular-eyed giant snake screeched as it whipped its tail in the air. It was as if a torrential rain had suddenly fallen on the area. The green raindrops could corrode the flesh and blood of all living beings. Its power was comparable to strong sulfuric acid. Some of the blood devils with relatively low bloodline levels, who were close to it, wailed as their bodies emitted bloody mist the moment they came into contact with a single drop of the cyan rain of light. However, a few rank 8 blood demon experts laughed eerily as their bodies transformed into blood-colored lightning. In the blink of an eye, it passed through all the green raindrops and went straight into the demon snake's huge body. Soon after, it became the demon snake's miserable shriek. The densely packed blood devils formed into huge groups and began to attack the great demons of Howren and the demon cultivators of the Devil's Palace. Under the sky, bloody shadows were shuttling back and forth as dazzling secret blood magics interweaved with each other. Some of the demon cultivators of the Devil's Palace held thick tomes in their hands. With their own blood as the primer, they pulled out a series of glowing magical symbols and hunted down the attacking bloody shadows. Some of the great demons roared angrily as thousands of mosquitoes and flies flew out of their bodies like steel needles, hitting a large number of blood devils. Some of the great demons, whose bodies were as hard as metal, swung their giant arms casually, and the bloody shadows exploded and fell to the ground with popping sounds. The great demons of the Howren Goblin Temple and the demon cultivators of the Devil's Palace were individually stronger than blood devils of the same level even on the Origin Blood Continent. This was especially true for the demonic cultivators at the Yang God level. Originally, they were on par with the level 8 clansmen of the blood demon race. However, in a real fight, the demonic weapons in their hands, their years of combat experience, and their refined demonic arts were still stronger than the level 8 blood demons. As for the great demons, because they were bound by the laws of this world, the flow of their demonic blood was slightly stagnant, but they were still extremely vicious. Once their demonic bodies appeared and released their demonic energy without fear of death, the blood devils would still be the ones to suffer. The Devil's Palace and the Goblin Temple were the strongest forces on the tranquil continent. They had deep foundations, and every person who stepped out of Howren had a divine weapon and many magical artifacts to protect themselves. The power of the weapons and artifacts in battle caused the blood demons to suffer heavy casualties. However, this was the origin blood continent, the holy land that gave birth to the blood devils. Even if a heavily injured blood devil's body was torn to pieces, once it fell into any of the blood-colored lakes or rivers, it wouldn't take long for it to reappear in its uninjured state. On the origin blood continent, as long as the blood devil's soul wasn't destroyed, as long as their bodies weren't turned to ashes, they would be able to use the blood lakes and rivers to heal their injuries in a short time and fight again in their strongest state. In addition, there were simply too many of them. This way, no matter how powerful the experts of the Devil's Palace and the Goblin Temple were, they would be exhausted to death. In the dazzling spatial passageway, Yu Yuan held the dragon beheading platform tightly and used the power of the space dragon inside the dragon beheading platform. Coupled with the wonders of the dragon beheading platform itself, it seemed to fly through different spaces. The dragon beheading platform was originally a magical cocoon of the void and contained the wonders of space and time. The space dragon's blood spilled on the dragon beheading platform, and the dragon's corpse slept here, increasing the dragon beheading platform's power of space and time. Not long ago, the broken eggshell of the purple gold dragon egg had helped the dragon beheading platform advance further. Yu Yuan, who was in charge of the dragon beheading platform, locked onto the coordinates of the origin blood continent by following the secret mark in the chest of the Gallo demon corpse. Then, with the help of the resurrection ritual, he directly crossed through space and came here. He felt that the layers of space he passed through were all real heaven and earth. All of a sudden, "Don't come back! Don't come back!" Yu and Yui's soul thoughts were transmitted to him one after another. Yui's soul thoughts also showed him the scenes of what was happening on the origin blood continent. He also saw Menk, Grek, and many blood devil elders and tens of millions of blood devils. He even saw the demonic cultivators of the Devil's Palace and the great demons of the Goblin Temple falling from the sky one after another. He saw the blood devils infiltrating the bodies of the great demons and entering the depths of the demonic cultivators' souls. They didn't know what death was, and were determined to kill all the humans and demons who had intruded on the origin blood continent. How could he not come? Yu Yuan muttered, a bitter smile appearing at the corner of his mouth. He thought to himself, the two of you are on the origin blood continent. Even if you have to go through a mountain of blades and a sea of flames, you won't shy away from death. Tan Chun Shan or even Chen Qinghuang were not the reason for him to come. However, since you two and Yui were here, he had to come, even though he knew that he would most likely die. Fizz! Like a bolt of lightning, Yu Yuan, who was holding the dragon beheading platform, stepped out of the groove and entered the origin blood continent for the second time. Crack! The moment he entered, a large crack suddenly appeared on the blood-stained stone under his feet, as if the hidden spatial meridians were suddenly torn apart by a mysterious force. Bloody light shone in the depths of the stone, and crimson lightning bolts shot out like cold arrows. Aphodia's long crimson hair fluttered above his head. Then, his numerous crimson hair disappeared one after another, condensing into crimson lightning bolts that shattered the stone under Yu Yuan and the others' feet. It also damaged the spell formation buried under it, making it impossible to repair it again. Yu Yuan immediately realized that he had been allowed to come in with the Blood Devil's permission. Now that he was here, he could forget about returning in the same way. Grek, his name is Yu Yuan. Like you, he has lived two lives. In his first life, he was called the Haunch of the Medicine God. With a cold face, Aphodia introduced him in detail. Take a good look at him. He ruined your plan in the Howran Forbidden Land of the Fallen Moons. Also, he has a life altar similar to yours inside of him, which seems to have been condensed from the primal Chaos Koan's behemoth essence amber. You once gave the order to search the entire Starry River for him. My guess is that the life altar in his body will be of great help to you. So, since he's here, let's close the net and stop waiting for other intruders. The Blood Devil Elder named Aphodia flew inch by inch towards Grek. That's great. The young Grek smiled brightly. His eyes were filled with warmth as he took a deep look at Yu Yuan's chest. It's mine to begin with. It's not too much for me to ask for it back, right? Yu Yuan's expression flickered slightly. The crimson life altar in his flesh aura heaven and earth was still transforming into a yang spirit body. While his heavenly soul was comprehending the mysteries within, he suddenly sensed that the life altar was being guided by another force. P.S. Happy Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day is a Western holiday. I'm from the South, so I won't celebrate it. Chapter 1141. Grek, who was originally floating above the Titan spirit's chest, floated down with a bright smile. Like a light, bright red feather, he swayed unhurriedly. Specks of bloody light appeared in the depths of his dark red eyes. It was as if two scarlet galaxies had been pulled into his eyes across endless space and time. Yu Yuan, who had only exchanged a glance with him, felt his sea of consciousness tremble violently. His Yin spirit and main soul were almost sucked out. At this moment, the entire primordial blood continent seemed to be responding to Grek. The dark red sky, the realm walls, the vast earth, and the countless blood-colored lakes and rivers seemed to have become a part of Grek. They had become the source of his power, and all of them were under the control of his mind. Yu Yuan's mind shook slightly. He pressed the long dragon-slaying platform in his hand toward the profound gate acupoint in his chest. As a thought entered his mind, the dragon-beheading platform's unique space-time power condensed into a ward that was as thin as a cicada's wing, isolating his flesh aura heaven and earth from the origin blood continent where he was now. As soon as the barrier was formed, brilliant rays of light sputtered out of his chest. He immediately knew that the blood energy that was everywhere on the primordial blood continent was indeed under Grek's control and exerting invisible pressure on him. Otherwise, the life altar that had sunk into the blood aura world wouldn't have reacted so strangely. You are invaders. You have always been. Grek, who had been resurrected as a teenager, stood at the foot of a cliff. Behind him, two elders, Nox and Quilly, were guarding him. He looked up and stared at Yu Yuan and said, 4,000 of years, you people from the Howran realm have slaughtered too many of our fellow heavenly devils. When he said this, his expression became somewhat gloomy, as if he had recalled something sad. My parents, because of your arrival in the northern part of the tranquil continent, a 7-man hunting team arrived in our little world. Grek didn't say what had happened after that. Because of this, his eyes burst with intense hatred. Human beings and demons in Howran are the biggest cancer in the boundless universe. If we don't get rid of all of you, all intelligent beings will not be able to eat or sleep in peace. Grek channeled his bloodline arcana art. His heart seemed to turn into a scarlet sun. Thousands of bloodline crystal chains were lit up by his anger. They flowed through his veins and interwove into dozens of innate divine abilities that could communicate with heaven and earth, twist the laws of the great Tao, and kill all living beings. Whoosh, whoosh. From the mountains, the lakes, the rivers, the realm barrier, and the air, an immeasurable amount of refined blood light flew out and entered the skeleton of the Titan spirit that was as tall as an ancient god. This Titan spirit was originally just a skeleton, and it was unknown when it would decay. Suddenly, the skeleton of the tall Titan spirit was filled with blood energy from the origin blood continent. Bones grew, flesh grew, tendons and blood vessels formed. Balls of blood light wriggled and turned into internal organs. A soft and tough layer of skin quickly formed. The Titan spirit that had died many years ago was undergoing a shocking transformation after being injected with Grek's power. Yu Yuan's face darkened. He hurriedly distanced himself from the empty chest of the Titan spirit. He stood high up in the air and looked at the Titan spirit that only had a heart that hadn't been condensed. An exceptionally vivid image suddenly appeared in his mind. He saw the young Grek burrowing into the empty chest of the ancient god after the flesh and organs of the Titan spirit were formed. It was as if he had turned into the living heart of the Titan spirit. Grek had taken control of the Titan spirit with his own body. With the support of endless divine power, he was able to slaughter everyone in his way. After a moment, the image seemed to dissipate and disappear. However, Yu Yuan understood that this was the secret skill that Grek was good at. He could think of this because Grek's blood crystal had been crushed in his life altar. The talents and mysteries of the blood demon race had scattered and been comprehended by his Selim. At this moment, a series of messages were transmitted from his Selim to his small world in his sea of consciousness. He knew that the great demon god Grek had refined all kinds of hidden array laws, restrictions, and barriers on the origin blood continent. The great demon god Grek had given this part of the mysteries to the resurrection ritual that only existed in this place. It was also because of this that Grek, who had been resurrected, was able to activate such profound mysteries the moment he woke up. He naturally took over all the laws and arrays on the primordial blood continent. Just like how he had been able to use the sealing heaven soul dissolving formation in the forbidden land of the fallen moon, Grek could use his bloodline and aura on the origin blood continent to control the laws, mountains, rivers, lightning, wind, and rain of this world. He was the god of the origin blood continent. King Wei Ling, Aphodia, who was slowly flying into the sky, screamed at the leader of the Devil's Palace. Then, he suddenly transformed into a giant blood bat. 200 years ago I saw you in a battle in outer space. At that time, you were only in the sun god realm. You humans are really amazing. You people, who were born with short lifespans, desperately tried to break through realms in order to live longer. How long has it been? You've become a Freedom Realm cultivator and have the same power as us 9th-level clansmen. We heavenly demons in outer space have a lifespan of thousands of years since we were born. Even if we do nothing, our bloodline will slowly evolve. Alas! Sometimes it's not a good thing to have a strong racial advantage. It makes us arrogant, easy, and unambitious. Perhaps we should thank you, Haoming people and monsters. You have been encouraging us, whipping us, forcing us to become stronger, forcing us to continue evolving. The giant blood bat Aphodia raised 2 rivers of blood-red light and threw them at King Wei Ling. The 2 rivers of blood-red light were thousands of acres wide, and there were many blood-red shadows that could be seen with the naked eye. They were many weak and incorporeal heavenly demons of unknown clans. King Wei Ling snorted softly, and a demon shadow as tall as the sky appeared. He held a demon spear burning with black flames in his hand and stabbed at one of the rivers of blood-red light. Many black demon shadows and lightning flew out, and the river of blood-red light was instantly scattered into dozens of blood-red clusters. Before Aphodia could say anything, the giant demon shadow formed by King Wei Ling opened its mouth and spat. The fierce and turbulent wind, with the biting cold of the northern part of the tranquil continent, blew the other river of blood-red light toward Aphodia. The blood demon elder in the giant blood bat clan squeaked, and used a secret bloodline method to make the 2 rivers of blood-red light gather back to him and become part of the power of his blood wings. Menk, leave King Wei Ling to me. Aphodia chuckled in a low voice. His strange chicken claw-like hands pulled hard toward the river below, and a giant blade shining with cold light flew out. Holding the icy giant blade, Aphodia instantly appeared where King Wei Ling's demon shadow was and clashed with the demon spear burning with black flames dozens of times. Streaks of black and red lightning and blood-red light shot out from the giant blade and the demon's spear. Yu Yuan narrowed his eyes and saw that King Wei Ling, who had appeared in the forbidden land of the fallen moons, had broken through from the early Freedom Realm to the Middle Freedom Realm, and his battle prowess had become stronger. However, he still felt that King Wei Ling might not be able to defeat Aphodia on the primordial blood continent. He then looked at the ancient god Golden Elephant, who hadn't shown his true form yet, and who had stood on top of the Titan spirit's head at some point. Looking at the great demon who had once been a demon god, he frowned and stared at men. I'm not restricted by the primordial blood continent. Suddenly, Yushu's voice came to him. The multicolored bones on her back lit up with dazzling light as she floated in midair and looked around. Then, she continued in a low voice, because of that blood-colored crystal, I even feel that part of me has merged with this heaven and earth. What? Yu Yuan exclaimed inwardly. The life altar inside him had been cut off from the primordial blood continent because of the ward created by the dragon-slaying platform. In order to prevent Grek from acting recklessly, he had no choice but to do this. That was why he hadn't been able to feel the benefits of fusing with the blood-red crystal like Yushu had. However, on second thought, he realized that if Yushu wasn't suppressed, then he should be in the same situation. He rubbed his chin and stared deeply at the dark red sky, sensing the existence of the realm barrier. A thought came to his mind. Chapter 1142. Could he wrest control of the primordial blood continent from the young Grek? If he couldn't do it alone, what if you two joined forces? Yu Yuan's heart surged with excitement as the thought crossed his mind. Of the 3 places that the great demon god Grek had prepared for himself, the primordial blood continent was, of course, the most special one. The many contingencies he had hidden in this place were a natural fit for him after his rebirth. That was why Grek had gained the upper hand as soon as he woke up, relying on the profound connection between him and the primordial blood continent. The blood-colored crystal he and U2 had obtained also contained Grek's aura and the blood devil's exquisite divine abilities. If he and U2 joined forces, they might be seen as 2 more Grek in this world. Judging from the current situation, all the human cultivators and demons that had invaded the primordial blood continent were probably in trouble. Unless a miracle happened, they would eventually be drowned by the countless blood devils, and their flesh, bones, and souls would be devoured. Yu Yuan's eyes flashed as he communicated with U2 in private. At this moment, the blood devils had broken through the defense lines of the powerful demons that had been rampaging in the Starry River one after another. Blood shadows infiltrated their bodies, and their souls began to fight the powerful blood devils with their own flesh and blood as battlefields. The powerful demons were restrained by the natural laws of the primordial blood continent. Therefore, they were not as strong as the devil cultivators. Soon, they showed signs of exhaustion. Chao Yi, find a way to kill Grek as soon as possible. Chen Qinghuang suddenly glanced at Xuantianzong, who was hiding in her shadow behind her. It's meaningless to hide at this moment. Grek is waiting for the Titan spirit to reforge his flesh and bones. He wants to turn this Titan spirit into his strongest blood slave and attach it to his place of sustenance. Chao Yi. On the other side of the void, U2, who was standing on either side of Yu Yuan, and Yu Yi, who had refined the evil demon cauldron into a suit of wondrous armor, were flabbergasted. Yu Yuan was also dumbstruck. If Chen Qinghuang hadn't mentioned Chao Yi's name, they would have almost forgotten about this person. Chao Yi, who practiced both righteous and evil, and was skilled in all sorts of strange incantations, seemed to have vanished into thin air shortly after entering the primordial blood continent. After Chen Qinghuang's reminder, they focused their attention and observed carefully. Only then did they realize that Chao Yi's body had already turned into a cluster of faint blood-red light and was hiding on the mountain top where Chen Qinghuang was. This Princess Qing Luan had long occupied a mountain by herself. Under the illumination of the scarlet full moon, there was a tall figure behind Princess Qing Luan on the stone ground. Chao Yi was hidden within, not uttering a single word from the start to the end. It was unknown what kind of mysterious secret technique he had used to make Yu Yuan forget about him, the culprit, ever since he set foot on the Origin Blood continent for the second time. Chao Yi seemed to have blinded the heavens and everyone's spiritual senses, causing many experts in this world to ignore him, including the experts of the blood demon race. Grek, who had been handsome and sunny in his youth, felt his heart tremble when he heard Chen Qinghuang's words. For some reason, even he, who had controlled the all-heavens restrictions of the Tianyuan continent and was waiting for the Titan spirit to transform into a blood slave, felt as if his eyes were covered by an invisible pair of hands. Without Chen Qinghuang's words, he, who had covered the entire Origin Blood continent with his demon soul, had forgotten about Chao Yi's existence. He was like a god of the Origin Blood continent. There was nothing he didn't know and know. However, Chao Yi had broken the inherent rules and escaped his senses and spiritual senses, as if he was outside the rules of this world. How could Grek not be shocked? "I haven't been idling." Chao Yi's dissatisfied voice came from the tall figure behind Chen Qinghuang. He had no intention of showing himself even now. "Chen Qinghuang, no one will think you're mute if you don't say anything. Don't you know that I've done a lot of things in secret? Why do you have to wake others up? If you don't do something thunderous, the great demons in the sky and those demonic cultivators will all die," Chen Qinghuang said coldly. "What does it have to do with you? What does it have to do with me?" Chao Yi's tone was cold. "Who doesn't die in a war between races in the outer realms? It's the fate of us Hauran men to die in the encirclement of foreign experts because we're not as strong as others. Even Yao gods and supreme primal spirits can die, let alone them." Chen Qinghuang fell silent after hearing this. Ancient god Golden Elephant sighed from the skull of the Titan spirit and said, "Chao Yi, don't let the Titan spirit under my feet turn into a powerful blood slave. Trust me, if he's filled with blood energy and is possessed by Grek, none of us will be able to leave alive." A rank 10 Titan spirit? Chen Qinghuang was filled with deep veneration. Ancient god Golden Elephant nodded solemnly. Yui's expression changed. She no longer transmitted her thoughts, but shouted seriously, "Stop this Titan spirit from gathering enough blood energy and condensing flesh and organs." "Chao Yi!" Chen Qinghuang shouted angrily again. "Sigh, I told you I was busy, but you didn't believe me." From the tall shadow behind her, Chao Yi's dissatisfied voice once again rang out. When the last word, "believe," was heard, everyone looked at Grek in shock. Chao Yi's last voice came from Grek's chest. The tall shadow behind Chen Qinghuang strangely disappeared, as if it had never existed. The eyes of the young Grek darkened, and a thumb-sized red mark suddenly appeared at the center of his forehead. A mouthful of blood gushed out uncontrollably from Grayson's mouth. He immediately sat down cross-legged and pulled at the void with his hand. Streaks of violent crimson lightning followed the call of his devil soul and drilled into his glabella. "Ha ha ha!" Chao Yi's extremely arrogant laughter came from inside Grek's head. Every blood demon who heard it felt their hair stand on end, and they felt indescribably uncomfortable. Since ancient times, it has always been you heavenly devils from the outer realms who forcibly took over our bodies and devoured our souls by possessing us. I've long wanted to see if I can give you a taste of your own medicine with the way you heavenly devils use and the secret arts you've passed down. Fine and complicated blood patterns gradually filled Grek's forehead, cheeks and neck and then spread down. Chao Yi's power and Chao Yi's aura spread like a virus. It spread to Grek's body, soul, and every wisp of consciousness. The Titan spirit's transformation into a blood thrall came to an end. The organs at his waist and abdomen stopped condensing. The hair on his head was like a thick bush, but it didn't continue to grow. Chao Yi. Xuantianzong is a strange genius. He really has some tricks up his sleeve. The surviving great demons and the demonic cultivators of the Devil's Palace suddenly became excited. Ancient God Golden Elephant, who hadn't participated in the battle, and Tan Chun Shan, who wasn't far away from Chen Qinghuang, were also shocked by the change at this moment. They couldn't help but look at Grek. No one would have thought that Chao Yi was able to possess Grek using extraterrestrial devil methods. He refined Anzan Shan's soul and comprehended the secret arts and divine abilities of the Blood God. The Blood God was formed because a grand elder of the blood demon race tried to possess an ancestor of the Yin family and was killed instead. Chen Qinghuang was the calmest. He seemed to have known that Chao Yi had been silent in order to make a big move. He knows the secret arts of the blood demon race and has even figured out the resurrection ceremony. Of course he has such means and power. Possession is too easy for him. The only difficult part is that his target of possession is Garek, Li Mu said. At this point, Chen Qinghuang looked up at the dark red sky and felt the seal of the primordial blood continent's realm wall. He said again, as long as Chao Yi succeeds in his possession, the realm wall will be opened and we can escape the primordial blood continent. Once we enter the outer realms and the experts of the blood demon race dare to chase after us, it'll be hard to say who will win. Amazing, really amazing. Tan Chun Shan shook his head. You've been protecting him until now. You knew he had such power. Chen Qinghuang rolled his eyes at him. As soon as Yu Yuan had arrived from the Starry River with the dragon beheading platform in her hand, she had followed Chao Yi's instructions and moved to a mountain peak, where she had joined hands with Tan Junshan to make arrangements. She covered Chao Yi's movements and existence. Tan Chun Shan was responsible for blocking the auras of the elders of the blood demon race and covering for Chao Yi. She let Chao Yi secretly cast spells and plot against the young Grek without anyone noticing. Even the elders of the blood demon race could not detect it. The three worked together and allowed Chao Yi to successfully connect to Grek's new body through a blood connection. I can't work for nothing, right? You took 2 of his blood crystals, so I want him after his resurrection. P.S. There's no need to pay New Year's greetings today. There are no guests at home, so there are 2 chapters. Chapter 1143. Yu Yuan secretly admired Chao Yi's actions. He had thought that everyone who set foot on the primordial blood continent would be drowned by the tens of millions of vicious blood devils. Who would have thought that Chao Yi, who hailed from the Black Heaven sect, would actually be able to deceive everyone and invade Garek's body with a heaven-defying method. Then, he used the possession method that the extraterrestrial devils were proficient in to control the newly resurrected great demonic god? If Chao Yi succeeded, he would be able to transform into Grek and control the laws and restrictions of this world. At that time, Chao Yi would be the god of the Tianyuan continent. Chao Yi was a master of strange secret arts. If he merged with the primordial blood continent, the blood devil clansmen in this world would be in trouble. Master, we can't stay on the primordial blood continent for long. Once the realm barrier cracks, we must leave immediately. Dressed in pitch-black armor, Yu Yi was still clutching the sharp icicles that concubine Han had created for her. Her entire body was radiating the extreme coldness of the 9 hells' frigid abyss. Clusters of icy blue flames were burning on her shoulders, and if one looked closely, they would be able to see strange soul shadows in the depths of those flames. The soul shadows were fiendish demons refined in the cauldron. Because they were of the same attribute as Consort Han, they were pulled into the flames of extreme coldness. The presence of the Ice Fiend demon caused the clusters of icy blue flames to become even more bone-chilling. It was as if they could freeze the soul. You still don't think this battle is going to end well? Yu Yuan had a surprised expression. He felt that since Chao Yi had the upper hand, and the Titan spirit's flesh and blood had been cut off, there was no need for them to leave in a hurry. Privately, he believed that they still had the strength to fight. Facing his puzzled gaze, Yui shook her head firmly. The Blood Devil race has a deep foundation, and this is the primordial blood continent. There is no way we can take advantage of them. As if afraid that Yu Yuan would still be suspicious, she added, "Trust me." "All right." Therefore, Yu Yuan chose to believe in her vision and judgment. He did not ask any more questions. Instead, he secretly connected to the dragon-slaying platform. While paying close attention to the changes in the boundary wall, he kept a close eye on Grek. Suddenly, he noticed the expressions of the two elders, Nox and Quilly, standing to the left and right of Grek. Both Nox and Quigley were rank 9 bloodlines. They knew that Chao E had entered Grek's body, and they could see that Grek was struggling against Chao E in pain. However, not only did they not help, there was not even a trace of fear or uneasiness in their eyes, as if they firmly believed that Grek would be the final victor. Their attitude made Yu Yuan feel uneasy. After that, Yu Yuan sized up Menk, Aphodia, and the other Blood Demon tribe elders, as well as the other Blood Demon experts who were fighting against the demonic cultivators and great demons. There was no exception. None of the Blood Demon clansmen, regardless of their bloodline rank, were panicking. Only Grek was howling and screaming as he pulled bolts of crimson lightning into his soul to extinguish Chao Yi's invading blood energy. None of the other Blood Demon clansmen seemed to doubt him in the slightest. They firmly believed that Grek would be the final victor. Even though Grek had just been resurrected and was still in his youth, they still believed that Grek could defeat Chao E. Yu Yuan sucked in a deep breath and said seriously to Yu Zhu and Yui, "Be prepared for a tough battle. These Blood Demons' unwavering trust in Grek is terrifying even to me. This great demon god must have won every battle since he was born. He has never disappointed them. That's why they believe in Grek so much. They believe that Chao E, who hasn't reached the nascent soul stage, can never defeat Grek in a battle of souls." As soon as he finished speaking, the towering demonic shadow of King Wei Ling holding the demonic spear suddenly shattered. Aphodia, who was in the form of a bloodbat, had wings that looked like scarlet light blades. They cut apart Lord Wei Ling's Dharma image and devil shadow, and also cut a golden-winged rock into pieces. Ancient God Golden Elephant! Menk laughed viciously as 3 enormous blood-colored shadows suddenly rushed out. One of them was a blood slave that was swallowing the sun and the moon, howling as if it could shatter the void. Another one was a blood slave that seemed to be carrying a giant war chariot. The last one was a blood slave in the form of a giant crocodile. It opened its mouth and spat out a long river of murky energy that was mixed with hundreds of kinds of filthy evil energy. After being killed by Menk, the 3 shadows that had been refined into blood slaves were second only to him in terms of battle strength when they were alive. When the 3 of them rushed over together, Ancient God Golden Elephant didn't dare to be careless anymore. He immediately revealed his giant elephant form and roared. The mountains and rivers of the entire primordial blood continent shook. Whoosh! The golden light, silver light, and black iron essence hidden deep in the ground turned into torrents of energy that were driven by Ancient God Golden Elephant's bloodline power and rushed into the sky. The golden light, silver light, and black iron essence turned into a golden halberd, a giant silver saber, and a black spear that attacked the 3 blood slaves refined by Menk. "How dare you use such petty tricks on the primordial blood continent?" Menk grinned strangely and roared at the sky. The great path of metal suddenly shattered. The 3 strange weapons formed by the power of the ancient god of Golden Elephant were shaken to the point of exploding. The gold and iron mines, mountains, and lakes of the primordial blood continent can only be used by the experts of the blood demons. Old Elephant, this isn't the world of Howren, not the world that created you. The next moment, the 3 savage blood slaves charged at Ancient God Golden Elephant. Billions of rays of golden light and flames were scattered by the first blood slaves' suns and moons. The golden mountain beneath ancient god Golden Elephant was also sent flying into the sky by the second blood slave's war chariot. Along the way, it was hit by the third blood slave, which looked like a giant crocodile, with its filthy evil energy. Boom! Ancient god Golden Elephant crashed into the dark red Void Realm wall. The Void Realm wall wasn't damaged at all. Instead, it had a terrifying rebound force that threw the giant elephant to the ground. Whoosh! Dazzling full moons suddenly appeared and stabilized the ancient god Golden Elephant's falling body. Otherwise, ancient god Golden Elephant would have fallen into the bloodiest lake on the primordial blood continent. Tan Chun Shan saw the blood-colored lake suddenly boil as ancient god Golden Elephant fell. The lake water bubbled like a bloody beast that had been dormant for a long time and was ready to eat. This place was the birthplace of the blood demons. It was strange and full of terrors that Howren didn't know about. Tan Chun Shan instinctively felt that if ancient god Golden Elephant fell into the bubbling lake, it would be difficult for him to escape. That was why he acted in time to help ancient god Golden Elephant. You two don't need to worry about me. Try to get rid of the two elders behind Grek. Yu Yuan glanced at Yu Tu and Yui, who had been on his left and right. He pointed at the blood demon elders named Nox and Chili at the feet of the Titan spirit. They are protecting Grek and preventing Grek from being harmed. If they aren't by Grek's side. At this point, two private voices suddenly sounded in his mind. Princess Qing Luan will have a chance. Chen Qinghuang, who controlled destruction, death, and regeneration, hadn't made a move since the beginning. She hadn't shown her true strength yet. Yu Yuan had known her for a long time and knew that she had miraculous performances at critical moment. Yu Yuan also believed that as long as Nox and Chili weren't there, she would be able to work together with Chao Yi. Chao Yi was eroding Grek from the inside. She could directly use her power of destruction and death from the outside. How could Grek survive? I don't care about the lives of others. Yui didn't move. She didn't follow his orders and stood there like root. Master, this place isn't as simple as you think. You and her are both the blood demon race's primary targets because there are two blood-colored crystals in your bodies that originally belonged to Grek. If I leave, an unexpected power might appear and attack you, causing you to be hit instantly. Yui, the cauldron's soul, didn't move at all under the pretense of protecting him and Yushu. Yu Yuan was surprised. He had known Yui for a long time, and there were very few times when he couldn't order her around. Yui's abnormal behavior shocked him, and he couldn't help but become more cautious. He started to look around suspiciously, feeling that there might be terrible dangers hidden in some corner of the primordial blood continent. Whoosh! The thin space-time ward in his chest was temporarily removed, and the life altar in his body was connected to the primordial blood continent he was in. Earlier, he had been afraid of Grek's methods, so he had used the power of the dragon beheading platform to isolate the life altar. At this moment, he thought that Grek couldn't even take care of himself, and wouldn't have the strength to take care of him under Chao Yi's influence. That was why he dared to do so. You're right. He nodded slightly at Yushu. Just like Yushu, after the life altar formed a connection with the primordial blood continent, and they were no longer separated by layers of space, he immediately sensed that the blood devil's birthplace seemed to be full of goodwill towards him, instead of suppressing him with the wondrous laws of this place, and making his blood stop flowing. Roar! In the world inside the dragon beheading platform, Titanspinosaurus, which had already formed the embryonic form of a dragon bone, suddenly let out a strange roar. The acupoints in Yu Yuan's chest that had been refined by the Een sunflower essence expanded, as if they were being pressed and attacked by another force. In the depths of the dark red earth, a will that had slumbered for billions of years seemed to be awakening bit by bit. Chapter 1144. The mountains and rivers of the primordial blood continent were shaking slightly, the earth was rumbling, and the blood seas, lakes, and rivers were surging violently. In the east, west, south, north, and south, huge waves rose up in the vast blood sea. The deep seas seemed to have been molded into bloodthirsty beasts by the hands of invisible gods. They were about to break out of the vast blood seas and charge towards the end of the continent. Brand new blood devils were being born in the lakes and rivers of the continent, crying for food. For some reason, the entire primordial blood continent was acting strangely. It was as if a terrifying giant had been bound by a will and was trying to break free from the shackles of its own imprisonment. Behind Garek, Nox, and Quilly, the two doddering elders who had been on high alert all this time, suddenly had looks of shock and astonishment in the depths of their eyes that were brimming with divine light. The two ninth-rank clan elders, who hadn't participated in the battle, sensed the abnormality of the primordial blood continent and seemed to realize something. Heavens! No way! The two clan elders screamed in their minds. Splash! The giant snake that had been killed by the blood devils fell into a wide crimson blood river and instantly turned into thick blood, its demon soul turning into ashes. Meanwhile, the golden-winged great roc, the giant lion, the silver flood dragon, and other great demons fell from the sky one after another. As soon as they fell into the blood lakes and rivers, they were instantly melted into blood water, and their demon souls completely dissipated. On the other hand, the blood devils, no matter how badly injured they were, only needed to bathe in the blood rivers below to reappear with their peak strength. ZZZT ZZZT ZZZT. Thousands of crimson lightning bolts struck King Wei Ling, the Freedom Realm cultivator of the Devil's Palace. King Wei Ling, who had reached the middle stage of the Freedom Realm, fell into the boiling lake that should have swallowed the ancient god of Golden Elephant like a black meteor shower. As soon as his Dharma idol entered the lake, it gradually melted, as if it was being boiled in oil. Princess Qing Luan, who had wanted to save him, grunted as blood flowed out of the corner of her mouth under the beaded curtain. She first looked down in shock as her soul remembrance spread out in all directions. Then, she abruptly looked at Yu Yuan and said, "There seems to be." Yu Yuan nodded solemnly and said, "Prepare to retreat." A will suddenly appeared in the depths of the origin blood continent, as if it had been awakened by the small worlds in his acupoints that had been opened by the Een sunflower essence. The pressure that this will gave him was so great that his heart almost stopped beating. As a person who had lived two lives, he had encountered too many strange creatures and strange creatures. However, he had only encountered a strange existence like the will of heaven and earth below in one place. The land of despair, the source of the Een veins. Until now, he still couldn't tell what kind of existence the source of the Een vein was. He only knew that the source of the Een vein controlled the reincarnation of all living beings in Howren. It was the final destination of souls after they dissipated. The souls of those who were born in Howren and died in Howren would eventually flow into the source of the Een veins. He knew that although the source of the Een vein did not have a physical body, it had intelligence and consciousness. It was an existence that exceeded the limits of his imagination. It was special, and it was different from all the other living beings in the world. He had thought that there was only one such strange existence at the source of the Een vein. He had never thought that he would encounter another strange existence that was similar to the source of the Een vein in a realm outside the origin blood continent, where the blood demons had been born. Yang, the source of the Yang vein, the first alien being born in the early primal chaos. One is Een and the other is Yang. Een is in Howren, and Yang is in the origin blood continent. In the depths of the crimson life altar in his blood aura world, the heavenly soul that had entered his mind analyzed the most secret message in the blood-colored crystal. Yu Yuan shuddered violently. He seemed to see two strange rivers that had existed when the world had first been born, when the universe had still been turbid, and when the star behemoths had still been born. The two strange rivers were filled with dazzling light, divine lightning, and chains of laws that were being refined. The rivers that were enveloped in hazy supernatural power drifted in the chaotic void, releasing wisps of souls and spreading seeds of blood. Yu Yuan, who was deeply shocked, felt an excruciating pain in his mind when he tried to focus on it again. Before he knew it, blood had started to flow from the corners of his eyes, and a bloody slit had appeared between his eyebrows. "Master! Wake up!" Yui and Yu Zhu grabbed his arms and shook them hard. He sensed that a warm current of flesh aura and pure soul power had been injected into his body by Yu Zhu and Yui, helping him wake up from the secret realm he had seen with his mind. The dragon-slaying platform in his hand shone with dazzling light that he had never seen before. The baby Titanspinosaurus was also trembling uneasily. "Let's go." He bit the tip of his tongue and forced himself to wake up. He didn't even dare to think about the magnificent scene he had just seen in this world. His flesh aura and soul power suddenly surged into the dragon-slaying platform. He summoned the scabbard of the heaven-piercing sword with his other hand and charged into the sky. "Chun Qinghuang, Tan Chun Shan, get out of the primordial blood continent as soon as possible. No matter what method we use, no matter what price we have to pay, we have to get out of here first." Since there was another entity that was similar to the source of the Yin veins in the depths of the primordial blood continent, then it was undoubtedly the creator of the blood demons. In a sense, Grek, who had been born with the life altar, was its spokesperson in the vast starry river, the manifestation of its will. Grek was the source of the Yang Meridian, the sharpest sword of the Yang Meridian. How could Grek die in its territory, the world it had created? The reason why Aphodia, Nox, Queely, and the elders of the blood demons present firmly believed that Grek would win in the end was probably because they had known this for a long time. Menk was the brother of the previous high chieftain of the blood demon race. However, he had always been dissatisfied with Grek and tried to obstruct him. So why would he stand on Grek's side at such a critical moment? It was even possible that Grek had subdued Menk long ago and won his loyalty. Later on, many of the conflicts between the two of them were just a tacit show. Of course, they were putting on a show for others to see. Fizz. Fizz. Grek, in his youth, pointed a finger at the spot between his eyebrows. His finger shrank infinitely, and fell into the red mark like a fish hook. Hundreds of tiny lightning bolts flew out of the lake and merged into his finger. The painful expression on Grek's face had long since disappeared. Those terrifying blood patterns also seemed to have been erased by an eraser. With the help of Grek, the red mark that belonged to Chao Yi was gradually smashed open and shattered like a piece of jade that had been struck by a hammer. Nox and Queely already had smiles on their faces. When they looked at each other, their smiles grew even wider. Then Chao Yi's wild laughter turned into a blood-curdling scream. At first, it was loud, but then it slowly quieted down. It seemed that he couldn't even scream anymore. "Do you really think that the blood demon race's holy land is somewhere you can come and go as you please?" Menk stood in the air. Under the dark red sky, he didn't make any unnecessary movements as he watched Yu Yuan, Yui, Yu Zhu, and Chen Qinghuang rise into the air. Next to him, the 3 blood slaves he had refined were still crazily attacking Ancient God Golden Elephant. Ancient God Golden Elephant, who had regained his footing, needed to join forces with Tan Chun Shan to barely block the blood slaves' attacks. If the previous high chieftain of the blood demon race was the favored child of the gods, then he was created by the creator of the blood demon race. They were born by our race's creation god, and they were the ones who taught all living beings the essence of blood. So, Menk lowered his head and looked at the young Grek with reverence and worship in his eyes. The current chief of the blood demons is the god himself. As soon as he said this, the eyes of all the blood demons on the Origin blood continent burned with passion. Praises and praises could be heard from every known place where the blood demon race was active. They were sincerely proud of Grek. Grek was the true god in their eyes. He was the strongest chief of the blood demons in history. Chapter 1145. As Yu Yuan poured all of his power into the long dragon-slaying platform, it blossomed with dazzling divine light. This divine object, which had been refined by the dragon slayer of the Shunhun sect with painstaking efforts, started to madly absorb Yu Yuan's soul power and flesh aura. In order to escape this heaven and earth and the origin of the Yang Meridian, he was willing to do anything. After realizing what was hidden in the primordial blood continent, he knew that as long as he stayed here, he wouldn't have the slightest chance of gaining anything. If he didn't leave, he would die. At this moment, the dragon-slaying platform seemed to have turned into a greedy and bloodthirsty beast that could devour the entire universe. For a while, Yu Yuan's mind was muddled and he almost fainted because of the loss of his soul power and flesh aura. As a last resort, he even took out a few pills from his cosmos ring and swallowed them all. The dragon-slaying platform suddenly expanded thousands of times. Like a steep and sharp mountain range, it was surrounded by layers of space-time barriers, exuding a mighty aura that could tear the universe apart. Break! Fizz! Fizz! Bright spatial rifts split the void in front of the dragon-slaying platform. Colorful lights flowed through the rifts, giving off an aura of desolation, loneliness, and eternity. Yu Yuan let out an explosive roar, as if he were going to split heaven and earth and break all the realm barriers and seals in the world. Dense blood patterns suddenly appeared in the dark red sky due to the violent impact of the dragon-slaying platform. The blood patterns gathered in clusters and shone with dazzling light, as if they recorded the profound truths of the birth of all living beings, the awakening of their bloodlines, and the origin of their races. An incomparably indifferent supreme will that looked at all living beings in the universe as if they were dead was born from the dark red realm barrier. At this moment, the will of the origin of the Yang Meridian, which was hidden in the depths of the primordial blood continent, seemed to reach the realm barrier that sealed this heaven and earth from the depths of the earth. It seemed to be coldly looking at Yu Yuan, who had overestimated himself, and pierced the heavens with the dragon-slaying platform. Dazzling stars, blazing suns, and cyan crescent moons suddenly appeared in the dark red realm barrier. The suns and moons were all blood-red, like huge scarlet eyeballs, which made people shudder with fear. The dazzling stars in the heavens were multicolored, gorgeous, and wondrous. A wonder! Boom! The dragon-beheading platform tore through the void and stabbed into the dark red realm barrier. 7 colored stars exploded one after another, and blood-red suns and moons seemed to have been pierced through and exploded by the dragon-beheading platform. A rain of light sprinkled down, causing space-time to tremble and the origin blood continent to rumble. But in the next moment, even more suns and moons appeared, and brand new stars appeared in the sky. The origin blood continent's hidden power of laws seeped into the spatial rifts and quickly healed them. Yu Yuan, who had charged into the sky, stood at the back of the enormous dragon-slaying platform. His face and body were covered in blood, and he looked extremely terrifying. It seemed that he had suffered a painful lesson from this strike alone. The powerful strike that was like a hot knife through butter was soundlessly neutralized, and it didn't leave much of a mark on the barrier. At his current level, even if he gave it his all, even if he held the brand new dragon beheading platform in his hand, it would still be like a mayfly trying to shake a tree, not worth mentioning. Yushu, Yui, and Princess Qing Luan, who had charged into the sky with him, also turned pale with fright. The three of them formed a triangle around him and cast secret magics and arcane spells to form many shields, wards, and ice walls. They were to prevent powerful blood devils from taking advantage of the situation and attacking them. He, Meng Ku, who had lived for tens of thousands of years, stood on top of a towering mountain peak with his hands clasped behind his back. His eyes narrowed slightly as he looked up at Yu Yuan, who had failed to break through the realm barrier and was seriously injured. I told you that not everyone can enter the Blood Devil's sacred land. For tens of thousands of years, most of the demon gods and nascent divinities of Hauran heaven and earth chose to avoid this place when they passed by. Even they don't dare to enter this place without careful consideration. What makes you think you can? The Azura race's dark realm is a forbidden area for all living beings in the Starry River. Isn't our origin blood continent the same? Rumble. The 3,000-meter-tall ancient god golden elephant fell to the ground after being refined by Meng Ku's 3 blood slaves. He crashed into a mountain and was buried by countless falling rocks. And this was only because Tan Chun Shan had intervened and stopped him from falling to the ground. He hadn't fallen into the boiling blood lake where King Wei Ling had sunk. King Wei Ling's Dharma idol has been refined. This outstanding devil cultivator in Tan Zhao's heaven idol will never appear in this world again. Meng Ke laughed in an unbridled manner. This is the fate of a Freedom Realm devil cultivator on the Origin Blood continent. After King Wei Ling, the next one will be you, old elephant. The 3 enormous blood slaves suddenly flew into the blood-colored rivers, as if they were absorbing blood power and accumulating power to kill ancient god Golden Elephant. King Wei Ling is dead? Yushu exclaimed. Yu Yi, who was wearing pitch-black armor and communicating with many fiend devils, nodded slightly. I can't sense his soul aura. The moment he fell into the boiling lake, his yin spirit, yang spirit, and main soul dissipated, and very quickly, they disappeared completely. King Wei Ling is indeed dead, Chen Qinghuang confirmed calmly. She slowly took off the crown on her head, and a peerless beauty that could captivate all living beings appeared on the Origin Blood continent. This Hauran woman, whose fame had skyrocketed in recent years, summoned the lair that was wreathed in an endless aura of death from the depths of her acupoints. Standing in the lair, she motioned for Yu Yi and Yushu to take Yu Yuan into the lair. After a moment of hesitation, the 2 girls carried Yu Yuan, who was almost exhausted, into the dark, desolate lair that was filled with the aura of death. A crescent moon suddenly rose from the deep valley where ancient god Golden Elephant had fallen. Tan Chun Shan, the hermit of the moon sect, stood on the crescent moon. With a grim face, he looked down at ancient god Golden Elephant, who was buried under rubble. Frowning, he said, "Grek is recovering his memories." Memories? Yu Yi exclaimed. Tan Chun Shan grunted and glanced at the boiling lake where King Wei Ling had sunk. Grek of the 1,000-bird realm should have been killed by the 3 god kings of the Shenhun sect. However, his memories and the exquisite blood arts he comprehended in his later years, which should have been scattered in the domain of annihilation, seemed to have been grabbed by an invisible force and stuffed into the new Grek's body. How can Chao Yi defeat Grek like this? Yu Yi's face was bitter. I finally understand why Chao Yi, who had the upper hand earlier, suddenly took a turn for the worse and was humiliated by the young Grek. It was because Grek had received his other self not long after he had been reborn. Grek, who was at the peak of the 1,000-bird realm, had his life's wisdom and memories secretly transferred across the boundless universe to the Grek in front of him. In this way, Grek had been resurrected in the truest sense of the word. Perhaps his bloodline rank and battle prowess hadn't recovered yet, but the current Grek was already the patriarch of the blood demon race, who had lived for thousands of years and had rarely been defeated in the vast universe. No matter how extraordinary Chao Yi was, he hadn't been able to ascend to the nascent soul stage and become the strongest existence in Hauran. He, who hadn't reached the ultimate level, was no match for Grek who had fully recovered. Ha! At the foot of the Titan spirit, Grek, who had the appearance of a young man, was smiling brightly as he pulled out a twisted bloody shadow from between his eyebrows. The twisted blood shadow was the strange genius of Xuantianzong, Chao Yi. The blood shadow kept changing. Dense, unknown patterns and words of blood would emerge from the blood shadow from time to time, as if they were reshaping and refining the blood shadow. It didn't take long for the blood shadow to shrink and turn back into Chao Yi. Chao Yi's dark red eyes burned with red flames. He silently stood behind Grek, and became Grek's guard like Nox and Chili. He had been refined into a blood thrall. Meanwhile, Grek's face was rapidly changing. Thick whiskers grew from his temples and the corners of his lips. His appearance was changing from that of a teenager into that of a young man. The sunshine and integrity on him were replaced by more determination and toughness. A domineering aura unique to a powerful person slowly grew and grew stronger. We meet again, Yu Yuan. Chapter 1146. The great demon god Grek looked at the lair of death in the sky with a gentle smile. His line of sight seemed to be unobstructed by anything. It passed through the death energy outside the lair, the many barriers created by Yu and Yu2, and landed directly on Yu Yuan, who had just woken up. Yu Yuan, who was covered in scabs and blood, instantly woke up the moment he heard Grek's voice. Above his head, the mountain-like dragon-slaying platform shone with strange light as it slowly shrank and shrank. Great demons and demon cultivators of Devil's Palace were slaughtered one after another by the blood demons. They fell into the blood lakes and seas one after another, and were quietly devoured by the blood water. The battle had been out of balance since the will of the origin of the Yang vein had awakened. More than half of the great demons and demon cultivators had been killed by the blood demons in a very short time. King Wei Ling, who was at the middle stage of the Freedom Realm, was also devoured by the boiling lake after his death. The ancient god Golden Elephant fell with a loud crash, his golden blood sprinkling in the deep valley, turning the bloody world into a land of gold, and attracting countless blood demons to fight over his golden blood. The battle between Grek and Chao Yi for possession had come to an end in the blink of an eye. All of the changes had been caused by the awakening of the will of the origin of the Yang vein, which was affecting the origin blood continent and increasing the strength of the blood demons with its unparalleled miraculous power. Yu Yi and Yu2 stood behind Yu Yuan as if they were facing a great enemy. They nervously used all of their strength to be on guard. They keenly sensed that Grek had become completely different from before. "Do you know why I value you so much?" Grek, who had transformed from a young man to a strong man, jumped into the sky and instantly entered the empty chest of the Titan spirit. He sat down cross-legged with his hands clasped together. Thousands of thin crimson lightning bolts flew out of his body and extended to the walls of the Titan spirit's chest. At this moment, he seemed to be in a crimson spider web made of blood-colored lightning bolts, as if he had become the missing heart of the Titan spirit, which was connected to the bright red rivers of the origin blood continent. No idea. Yu Yuan, who had a dark expression, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and floated above the death lair. With the dragon-slaying platform above his head, he looked at Grek, who had entered the Titan spirit's chest and was gradually reaching the same height as him because the Titan spirit was still growing. Yu Yuan suddenly had a strange intuition. The great demonic god Grek he was familiar with had truly returned and replaced the young Grek who had just been reborn. After the young Grek was reincarnated, he chose to completely accept the original him. Complete, a true resurrection. Because you helped me hatch the baby Titanspinosaurus on the dragon beheading platform. Grayson opened his mouth and laughed out loud. He separated his clasped hands and casually pointed at a lake on the ground. The bubbling and boiling blood-colored lake immediately quieted down because of him. The dark red lake suddenly became so bright that it could reflect a person, and a clear image was displayed in front of him. The giant bronze coffin that had broken out of the ground had been closed. The lid of the coffin, which was covered in billions of tiny words, had been closed. The god king called Taishur was not inside the giant bronze coffin. There was only thick blood. In the pool of blood, there was another giant purple gold egg. The blood contained the essence of the bloodline of all beings. It was also mixed with many small blood crystals that nourished the even larger purple gold egg. It was as if the blood crystals were the life altar that Grayson had created when he had exploded them. Inside the giant egg, the strong heartbeat seemed to ignore the limits of time and space, causing the egg to tremble violently. Thousand Bird Realm! Tan Chun Shan, Chun Ching Huang, and Yu Yi exclaimed in unison. Yu Yuan was silent. With a rumble, the 3,000-meter-tall ancient god golden elephant climbed out of the valley, bathed in blood. His thick and long tusks shone with a blinding golden light. He huffed and stared at the strange scene in the lake. He shouted in a hoarse voice, "There is also a Titanspinosaurus dragon egg?" The great demon god Grek suddenly felt a little sad. He sighed and said emotionally, "The 3 god kings of the Shenhun sect are indeed powerful. They set up a trap to kill me in Thousand Bird Realm, and used my vast blood energy to nourish the dragon egg, so that the Titanspinosaurus inside could quickly break out of its shell. I was too confident. Also, because I had never truly interacted with the Shenhun sect, I underestimated them. I paid a terrible price because of this. They made me die once in Thousand Bird Realm, because of the Shenhun sect's scheme." Yu Yuan was still silent. When he saw the giant bronze coffin and the purple gold egg inside, he realized that the heartbeat that made him tremble twice before was the other Titanspinosaurus dragon egg. Before he entered the forbidden area of the moon-swallowing ape's body with Qin Qinghuang, he had sensed it. Previously, he only knew that the heartbeat was related to the dragon beheading platform and the dragon corpses. Now he confirmed it. The supreme Titanspinosaurus left 2 dragon eggs. I found one and the other fell into the hands of the Shenhun sect. It would take an astronomical amount of blood energy to hatch the strongest star behemoth's dragon egg into a baby star behemoth. I, Grek, am much stronger than the dead moon-swallowing ape. I am undoubtedly the best choice. Shura of Gojoseon and I destroyed their grand plans with the Tongtian Trading Company. We angered them and were targeted by them. At this point, Grek's face was full of bitterness. He shook his head and sighed. He had died because of the Divine Soul Sect's scheme. The blood energy he had refined for thousands of years had been taken away and sealed in the bronze coffin to nurture another Titan Spinosaurus cub. He was very unwilling to accept this and was very unhappy. But he had to admit defeat. The Shenhun sect obviously knows that the baby Titanspinosaurus has the power to change the world of Howran. After all, the entire Howran Great World was created because of the sinking of the Titanspinosaurus and the infiltration of the source of the Yin veins. The Shenhun sect wants to use the Titanspinosaurus to make the 5 supreme forces of Howran bow their heads. I won't let them do as they wish. I'm going to stick my foot in. He looked at the dark red sky, and then lowered his head to look at the earth that was the same color. Thank you, Yu Yuan, for bringing the dragon beheading platform out of the forbidden land of the fallen moons. Thank you for your kindness in saving the second baby and bringing it to the dragon beheading platform. Finally, thank you for bringing the dragon beheading platform to the primordial blood continent. I, Grek, thank you for your timely help. Thank you for your great kindness. He solemnly bowed to Yu Yuan with the etiquette of the human race. Yu Yuan's face was gloomy. Tan Chun Shan and Qin Qinghuang also felt bitter after hearing his word. It seemed that they had fallen into Grek's trap when they had broken into and destroyed the first place where he had been resurrected. From the moment Grek, the first person who wanted to come back to life, wantonly plundered the moon-devouring ape's remaining blood energy under the giant purple gold egg's chest cavity and extracted energy from the dragon egg, the plan had been in motion. The first Grek's resurrection had failed, and the blood-colored crystal had been obtained by Yu Yuan. Then he had taken everyone to the second forbidden land with the power of the dragon beheading platform. The subsequent attempts to completely kill Grek and enter the primordial blood continent seemed to have been within Grek's expectations. Until now. To thank you, you will be the last one to die. I will let you see what will happen next with your own eyes, Grek said with a smile. The Titan spirit, which had become tens of thousands of feet tall, suddenly reached out a giant hand that blotted out the sky. The giant hand fell from the sky, grabbed the neck of the ancient god of golden elephant, and pressed it directly into the boiling lake where King Wei Ling had sunk. You old elephant, it's time for you to die of old age. Chapter 1147. The great demon god Grek, who had possessed the Titan spirit, grabbed the ancient god Golden Elephant by the neck and pushed him into the blood lake. While the ancient god Golden Elephant was in the air, his giant hooves kicked desperately. His demonic energy turned into countless golden blades and lightning, but they couldn't do anything to the Titan spirit. This Titan spirit had been a rank 10 bloodline when he was alive, and had never fallen in rank. He was only stronger than the ancient god Golden Elephant. Now that he was possessed by Grek and strengthened by the entire primordial blood continent, although he couldn't regain his strength when he was alive, he was infinitely close to a rank 10 bloodline expert outside of Howran. With a plop, the ancient god Golden Elephant's 1,000-foot-tall body sank into the blood lake. The boiling, thick blood water gradually swallowed him. The blood devils in the lake entered his body like locusts, nibbling at his flesh and bones. New blood devils slowly took shape in the blood bubbles. It seemed that a new race of blood devils had been born with the ancient god Golden Elephant's flesh and blood. After consuming his flesh and blood, the blood devils, who were already powerful to begin with, made a breakthrough in their bloodlines. Moo! The ancient god Golden Elephant's sorrowful howls caused giant pillars of energy to rush out of the blood lake. As his demonic blood flowed out and his flesh and blood melted, the truths of the great Tao that he had comprehended clashed with the laws of the primordial blood continent, causing the surface of the blood lake to ripple with sparks. Compared to King Wei Ling, the commotion he caused when he sank into the water was much greater. After all, he had once become a demon god. His dazzling golden demon heart was like a sun made of pure gold. Even the blood couldn't conceal its brilliance as it appeared from within the lake. Grek chuckled softly. A strange blood vortex suddenly appeared in the depths of the blood lake. Like a giant mouth, it swallowed the ancient god Golden Elephant's heart. Inside the blood vortex, Yu Yuan sensed traces of the origin of the Yang Meridian. Old Xiang, to think that you would have such a day. Meng Ke had a gratified smile on his face. He stood at the peak of the mountain with 3 blood thralls standing behind him. He said complacently, I've wanted to kill this old elephant for many years, but I just didn't have the chance. He's really bold to come to the origin blood continent to court death. Aphodia, who was in his blood bat form, transformed into a short old man and crouched on one of the Titan spirit's shoulders in a slightly wretched manner. The 10,000 zhang tall Titan spirit had broad shoulders, and he looked inconspicuous as he squatted there. Patriarch, we must keep the demon soul. Aphodia's shout attracted the attention of Yu Yuan, Chun Qinghuang, and Tan Chun Shan. Lord Golden Elephant is finished. Tan Chun Shan had also entered Chun Qinghuang's lair of death. He let out a long sigh and said with a face full of guilt, It's because of us that he and King Wei Ling were harmed. If they hadn't stepped into the shattered star of the Garo demon corpse, and if they hadn't instigated it, the forces gathered by the Goblin Temple and the Devil's Palace would never have entered the origin blood continent. Now, King Wei Ling was dead, and ancient god Golden Elephant was about to perish. The other experts of the Devil's Palace and the Goblin Temple, except for you two, had all been wiped out by the blood demon race. Chao Yi had become Grek's blood thrall. This was a complete and utter defeat. Chen Qinghuang, who had revealed his illusory and unreal face, also sighed faintly because of his words. He said, Now that the demon heart has been melted and refined, Lord Golden Elephant's path to rebirth has been cut off. Even if the demon soul still exists, even if it can be taken back in the future, it will have to start all over again. Please bestow the demon soul of Old Elephant to me. Menk threw a cylindrical container toward the blood lake from the peak of the mountain. Chief, I have obtained the demon soul of this old elephant. Combined with the resources I have now, I can refine another ferocious blood thrall. I'll give it to you. Grek, who was at the center of the Titan spirit's chest, narrowed his eyes and smiled. His empty hand pointed at the cylindrical container floating in the blood lake. The container sank like a light boat to the head of the ancient god Golden Elephant, then broke through the head and entered. Thank you, Chief. Menk respectfully bowed to express his gratitude. The smile on his face grew brighter and brighter. Nox, Quilly, and the many elders of the blood demon race scattered around the 10,000-meter-tall Titan spirit. They looked at the great demon god Grek with eyes full of sincere respect and love. As for Yu Yuan, Chen Qinghuang, and the others in the lair of death, they acted as if they didn't see it. As the elders of the blood demon race, they were well aware of the supernatural ability hidden in the dark red realm wall. Since they knew that Yu Yuan and the others couldn't break out, what was there to worry about? Master Yui, who had refined the fiend demon cauldron into armor, knelt down slowly behind Yu Yuan on one knee. Just like last time, she lowered her head deeply, as if she didn't dare to face the current Yu Yuan. In a helpless and humble tone, and in a voice that only Yu Yuan could hear, she whispered softly, "Please wake up, Master." Her shoulders and delicate body trembled slightly. Her heart was filled with sorrow and guilt, but there was also a trace of hope. Yu Zhu, Chen Qinghuang, and Tan Chun Shan looked at her with strange expressions. They didn't understand what was going on. Yu Yuan, who was covered in blood, slowly turned around and looked down at her, who was kneeling in the air and didn't dare to raise her head. She was only transmitting her thoughts. Yu Yuan instantly realized why she was like this. She knew the terrible situation in front of her. Unless an earth-shattering change occurred, no one present would be able to escape the blood demon race's evil hands. She asked Yu Yuan to take the initiative to accept himself from his first life and welcome the awakening of that person's consciousness. That person should be her first master, the one who had refined and controlled the dragon beheading platform. He was once the existence with the greatest killing power in the Howran Great World. Yui longed for him to control the transformed dragon beheading platform in his first life and kill his way through the origin blood continent. But the corner of Yu Yuan's mouth was full of bitterness. If he let go of everything and accepted himself, the current Yu Yuan, the second haunch, would instantly lose all meaning. Even the traces of his existence might be erased. For example, the memories, experiences, and wisdom of the great demon god Grek at his peak in the Annihilation Starfield would enter the young Grek as soon as Grek entered him. He would become a completely different person. If he were to change, it might be even more thorough. There's no other way. Yui lowered her head and seemed to be sobbing softly. Scenes appeared in her mind. Those scenes were from when she was in the starry ash sea, when she was by Yu Yuan's side, and when she slowly grew with Yu Yuan and strengthened herself step by step. The reason she could wake up, awaken her lost memories, refine a new body, and walk out of the world in the fiendish demon cauldron was because of the Yu Yuan of this life. In the depths of her heart, what she really wanted was for the Yu Yuan of this life to step into the peak of the universe and then accept his first self. In that way, Yu Yuan would still be Yu Yuan, but with a new set of memories and life experiences. Instead, all traces of him would be erased. How I wish I could always be by your side in this way. Yui muttered to herself in her heart. Her voice and words were filled with sadness and helplessness. I don't want that you to appear in this world, because the you in front of me, the you in this state, is much more adorable than that one. When she spoke of that one, her body trembled even more violently. It was as if, as a servant girl and the guardian of the dragon beheading platform, she had a bone-deep fear of that one. This fear and reverence were mixed together. It was impossible to tell which was more, but there was no love, respect, or closeness. Yu Yuan's heart was in a mess. His body was stiff, and he stood there in a daze, not knowing what to do. The will of the source of the Yin vein had awakened, and the great demon god Garek had been resurrected. He had also possessed a Titan spirit that had been level 10 when he was alive. There were also Menk, Aphodia, Nox, and Queely, as well as countless blood demon experts. They couldn't break through the realm wall. Now they were in a situation of certain death. With their current combat strength and numbers, if a miracle didn't happen, it was indeed a dead end. King Wei Ling was dead, and so was ancient god Golden Elephant. Tan Chun Shan and Qin Qinghuang were only at the same level as ancient god Golden Elephant. If there's really no way out, maybe. He sighed deeply and gazed at Yui, who was kneeling in front of him. Unwilling and helpless, he also wanted to give up. Just as he was about to make a decision, Qin Qinghuang, who was so beautiful that she looked like an illusion, gently placed a hand that was as white as jade on his shoulder. I invited you. Let me do it. Yu Yuan was stunned. Chapter 1148. In the deepest part of the desolate god lake in Howran, the barefooted old ape, who was dressed in a hemp jacket and had a hemp rope tied around his waist, took a puff from a pipe and looked at a large bird's nest that had appeared out of thin air in the forest where spiritual energy flowed like water. Zuan, who was wearing a feathered crown and holding the sky observatory mirror, also looked at the bird's nest that had withdrawn its destructive power. He and the desolate god had personally brought the nest of annihilation back from the starry river and placed it here. The Blue Luan's demonic soul had entered the nest, allowing it to transform into its body for a short period of time and display its miraculous abilities. Squeak! The Blue Luan's demonic soul kept squeaking in the nest of annihilation, which attracted the attention of the desolate god and Zuan. All the demonic beasts that were loyal to the old ape in the lake were not allowed to set foot in this place for the time being. It's been half a month, and the Empress of the Nest of Annihilation still hasn't made a move. Old Yuan, who was covered in thick gray hair, seemed somewhat impatient as he said, Patriarch Zhu, I heard that the girl took your friend with her. I don't know why, but they mysteriously disappeared in the domain of Nether Meander. Hanch Zuan, who had replaced Li Tianxin in the primal Yang sect and ascended to the nascent soul realm, muttered. Even he didn't know that Yu Yuan, whom he had secretly taken care of for a while, wasn't a direct disciple of his old friend, but his old friend himself. Every time he thought of the way Yu Yuan treated him, and the way Yu Yuan looked at him, he was filled with displeasure. Zuan snorted softly. When Hanch returns to Howran, I'll have a good talk with him. Whoosh! The Blue Luan's demonic soul appeared inside the nest of annihilation. It timidly glanced at the desolate god and Zuan, then slowly folded its illusory blue wings and said in a sharp, ear-piercing voice, Something in the heavenly bird forest near the land of despair has caused this nest to react. What reaction? Zuan asked curiously. The Blue Luan in its spiritual form said urgently, Resonance. Resonance? The Aragami was shocked. The heavenly bird forest was located in the tranquil continent, right next to the land of terror. For tens of thousands of years, many birds and spirit birds had been born in that dense forest. Because of this, the forest was named Sky Bird Forest by later generations. At present, many of the spiritual birds that were active in the outer realms of the Howran Great World, such as the golden-winged great rocks, the peacocks, and the thunder condors, all came from the heavenly bird forest. Even the current peacock king and the Blue Luan in front of him were all from the Sky Bird Forest. This Luan bird that only had its monster soul left and had miraculously fused with the annihilation layer actually said that there was something resonating with the annihilation layer within the sky bird forest. What did this mean? Is it really the sky bird forest? Zhuan asked cautiously. Qing Luan nodded repeatedly like a chick pecking rice. Let me take a look. With a thought from Zhuan, the sky observing precious mirror, he controlled unfolded in midair above the great swamp. With the support of his divine force, the precious mirror immediately illuminated the lush forest where countless birds lived. He repeatedly asked questions, and Qing Luan quickly pointed out the direction and position. A moment later, an unknown strange tree that was more than 10 meters tall, with leaves that were as mystical as green jade, and emitted a hazy radiance, appeared within the sky observation mirror. Near this strange tree, there were many taller and thicker trees growing. They were all dozens of meters tall, and their branches and leaves were so dense that they covered the sky and the sun. Only this tree seemed short and small. Only its leaves were shockingly green, and they shone brilliantly. Ah! The blue Luan's monster soul in its spiritual form couldn't help but scream the moment it saw the strange tree. This tree had appeared repeatedly in its dreams and memories for many years. It was just that the tree in its dreams and memories didn't have such tender green leaves, nor did it release any light. It was very inconspicuous and didn't attract much attention. Every time it dreamed and recalled this tree, it would think of the abandoned baby it had found under the tree for the first time. That's right, the current Princess Qing Luan, Chen Qinghuang, was the female abandoned baby back then. After it accidentally found her, it secretly guarded her and tried to find a way to hand her over to the ancestor of the Chen family who came to the sky bird forest. In his countless dreams and memories, there was this tree and the mysterious baby girl from back then. It had always thought that it was because it and Chen Qinghuang were together day and night that it repeatedly recalled that scene and that inconspicuous strange tree. Zhu An's eyes narrowed slightly. The Yin spirit between his eyebrows suddenly flew out and entered the sky observing mirror. After a moment, his Yin spirit directly appeared in the sky observing mirror. To be exact, he arrived at the sky bird forest in an instant with his Yin spirit. He arrived under the strange tree that finally bloomed with magic. Zhu An's Yin spirit gently touched the trunk of the tree. Boundless green light burst forth from the trunk. The leaves of the tree were green and clear, as if they were carved with a knife. It was as if the leaves contained a profound and unfathomable truth. The power of regeneration. Zhuan, who stayed in the great swamp, couldn't help but take a deep breath. Meanwhile, in the depths of the land of terror nearby, a white skeletal body that seemed to be able to support the heavens and the earth silently appeared. Bones of the ghost god. Zhu An's Yin master was taken aback. He stood in the middle of the sky bird forest and looked at the land of terror. Bring that tree to me. Bai Gu's soul traveled through space and reached the location of the Zhu and Yin god and the strange tree. The supreme being of the Goblin Temple suddenly woke up from his deep slumber because of this strange tree. Zhuan was horrified. There's no time to lose. I'll take my leave first. We'll continue later. Zhu An's real body stepped into the sky observing mirror after the Yin master and arrived at the sky bird's forest in an instant. He used the mirror to drill through the ground and brought the strange tree with him to the land of terror. Within the great lake, old Yuan, who had already put down his pipe, stared blankly at the azure Luan demon's soul in the destruction lair. What is that tree? My guess is that it should be the phoenix's third nest. The azure Luan didn't dare to hide anything. She timidly told him what she was thinking. A rebirth nest. The desolate god nodded gently. In an instant, he understood the cause and effect and understood all the hidden secret. So that's how it is. I can't believe that the third rebirth nest that so many outsider experts in the Starry River are desperately searching for, which has the highest chance of reviving the immortal bird, isn't in outer space but in vast sea. No wonder, no wonder. The elder ape let out an unpleasant laugh, as if his throat had been cut open. Interesting, interesting. Even the demons and gods would never have thought that the nest of the Lord's rebirth would appear in Hauran. That old demonic phoenix is also searching for the phoenix's third nest in outer space. She probably didn't know that the thing she's looking for has always been right under her nose. 100,000 years ago, the phoenix was the nemesis of the demonic phoenix. The phoenix was besieged by the alien race masters at the peak of level 10 in the Annihilation starfield. The bird of doom, who had spread destruction and death, was the public enemy of all races. Both the powerful outsider experts and the demon gods of Hauran wanted her to die as soon as possible. In the end, they got what they wanted. I see. A shudder ran through the elder ape. The Azure Luan sensed the unusual movements of the strange tree and heard the elder ape's words. Flapping her wings violently, she screamed, "So that's how it is! So that's how it is!" On the primordial blood continent, Chen Qinghuang, who was so beautiful that he looked illusory, put a hand on Yu Yuan's shoulder. Facing Yu Yuan's confused gaze, he said softly, "Let me do it." Yu Yuan was taken aback. "What? Let me handle it," Chen Qinghuang said softly. Tan Chun Shan, Yu Yi, and Yu Zhu all looked as if they were looking at an idiot. Since the dragon beheading platform is called the heaven-splitting divine stone, we can use its power to split open the heavens. Chapter 1149. As soon as Chen Qinghuang finished speaking, the death lair suddenly began to expand rapidly. The inside of the lair was surrounded by grayish-white death energy that was so dense that it could not be dispersed. However, where Yu Yuan and the others were standing, another abundant life force was quietly growing and rapidly growing. The vast life force, with the supernatural ability of regeneration, shone brightly. Another world-destroying energy suddenly appeared outside the lair, slowly wrapping around the lair of death. Death, destruction, and regeneration flowed inside and outside the lair, miraculously merging and deriving the three truths of the great Tao. It was as if they were telling all beings the subtleties of these three laws of heaven and earth. Chen Qinghuang's expression was indifferent. The emotions that a human should have in her eyes were gradually disappearing. Everyone in the lair and the few blood demon elders outside could see that she seemed to be undergoing some kind of change. However, arrogant people like Garek and Menk didn't seem to care at all. They even smiled and waited expectantly for her transformation to complete. This was the primordial blood continent, the holy land that gave birth to them. Moreover, the source of the yang vein had also awakened. No matter how miraculous Chen Qinghuang was, what could she do? However, Yu Yuan was greatly shocked. He keenly sensed that this death lair, which had been repaired later, seemed to have been injected with the power of destruction and regeneration. It was clearly just a death lair, but it combined the two supernatural abilities of destruction and regeneration. In the blink of an eye, the power and miraculousness of the death lair had doubled. Any immortal bird's lair actually contained the power of death, destruction, and regeneration. However, two of these powers were very weak, and the three could not be equal. 99% of the Death Arcana contained in the Death Arcana, and the rest was destruction and rebirth. The other two Death Lair were the same. However, at this moment, this Death Lair did not conform to the rules. It contained the two supernatural abilities of destruction and regeneration. Moreover, all three were equally vast and majestic, as if they were endless. Whoosh! Chen Qinghuang's strange three-headed and six-armed Dharma idol finally appeared on the primordial blood continent. After this huge Dharma idol landed in the death lair, it showed something different from before. The three faces of her Dharma idol seemed to be constantly changing. Their faces and auras were no longer fixed. Death, rebirth, and destruction. These three powers represented three different forms, and they would appear one after another. Every part of Qin Qinghuang's awe-inspiring Dharma idol seemed to be filled with the power of destruction, regeneration, and death. She seemed to have mastered the three distinct forces all of a sudden. With a single thought, she could change and create different divine abilities and wonders at will. This, Meng Ke gazed at the death lair, feeling inexplicably restless. This old monster of the blood demon tribe, who had lived for tens of thousands of years, seemed to recall some terrible rumor. His face darkened. He was no longer as calm as before. Instead, he was racking his brains, trying to catch some clues. He felt that the Qin Qinghuang in front of him was transforming into a threat to them, but he did not know the details. The Titan spirit possessed by the great demon god Grek suddenly rushed towards the death lair with loud rumbles. Two arms that were as long as mountain ranges reached towards the death lair. From the looks of it, they were going to drag Qin Qinghuang, Tan Chun Shan, Yu Yuan, and the others into the death lair and deal with them in the same way as they had with the ancient god Golden Mammoth. Kill Princess Qing Luan with everything you've got, Meng Ke suddenly roared. At this moment, he finally realized something, and his expression changed dramatically. The three blood thralls with terrifying auras, Aphodia, Nox, Quilly, and even Xiao Yi, who had just been refined into a blood thrall, suddenly turned into streaks of blood-colored lightning bolts and violent blood-colored light pillars that shot towards the death lair because of his roar and Grek's command. The immortal bird that died in the domain of annihilation 100,000 years ago is coming back to life in her body. As Meng Ke roared these words, his body shook violently and trembled. The immortal bird is coming back to life in her body? No way. The blood demons who knew about the immortal bird seemed to recall the dark nightmare recorded in ancient records that they did not want to recall. They remembered the fear of the immortal bird that had dominated many intelligent races in outer space. Splash! Streams of pure blood power shot into the sky from the lakes and rivers of the primordial blood continent. The strange power in the mountains and rivers seemed to be stimulated by the origin of the Yang Meridian, turning into countless blood-colored lightning bolts and storms. A rain of blood fell from the dark red realm barrier, but it was unusually concentrated and fell on Qin Qinghuang's lair. Destroy. Qin Qinghuang's strange 3-in-1 Dharma idol was like an ancient god that spoke in a strange language that no one had ever heard before, but understood. Raging black flames brewed under the lair of death and spread in all directions. Aphodia, who had transformed into a blood bat, pulled 2 rivers of blood out of his bat wings and slashed over like blades of light. They were the first to come into contact with the black flames that contained the profound truths of destruction. Aphodia's bat wings instantly burst into flames, and his blood-curdling screams rang out. The black flames sputtered and burned many 8th and 7th grade blood demons that were close to the lair of death to ashes. The charred blood demon corpses fell to the ground one by one like briquettes. Chun girl! Tan Chun Shan stared at Princess Qing Luan in shock, as if he were seeing her for the first time. Yu Yuan took a deep breath. Holding the scabbard of the heaven-raising sword in one hand and the Gendo blood prison in the other, he looked up at the towering Dharma idol of Princess Qing Luan and said, "Protect yourselves first. I have a feeling that she may be able to lead us out of the primordial blood continent." The dragon beheading platform, which looked like a prismatic mountain range above his head, glittered with dazzling light. Through the connection with the dragon beheading platform, he sensed that unusual spatial currents were surging from the depths of Qin Qinghuang's lair of death. The lair of death seemed to have ignored the realm barrier of the primordial blood continent and established a connection with the other 2 lairs. Apart from the destruction lair, which had secretly moved to Hauran a long time ago, there was also the regeneration lair, which all forces and intelligent races had been searching for to no avail. The destruction lair and the regeneration lair were both responding to the lair of death and Princess Qing Luan. Princess Qing Luan, whom he had inadvertently saved when he was Haunch, seemed to have just undergone a mysterious transformation. She had miraculously merged the powers of death, regeneration, and destruction that she had comprehended into one. Because of this, her battle prowess had soared to a level that even Tan Chun Shan was shocked by. Sizzle! Thousands of gray lightning bolts shot out from the lair of death, where everyone was, and from Chun Qingyan's Dharma idol, like the spikes of a hedgehog, into the space outside. The gray lightning and the crimson lightning of the primordial blood continent clashed with the laws of nature, splashing out sparks that instantly killed the blood demons. The 3 blood slaves that had made the ancient god of golden elephant suffer a loss were instantly pierced into honeycombs by the gray lightning of death. The ultimate will of death fermented inside the blood slaves' bodies and spread wildly, eating away at their vitality and strengthening their power of death. The blood slaves, who had been as strong as Menk when they were alive, suddenly froze in the void, unable to break free from the will of death inside them. They couldn't even take a step closer to Qin Qinghuang's Dharma idol. Death. The 3 faces and 3 mouths of Qin Qinghuang's towering Dharma idol spoke in a strange language that everyone understood at the same time. A torrential rain of death fell from the sky. The gray raindrops seeped into the sky and earth of the primordial blood continent, and fell on the many blood-colored lakes and rivers. Countless weak blood demons that had just been born died instantly. Blood devils were instantly killed in every corner of this world. It didn't matter if they were hiding in caves or deep underground. They were all affected by the shockwaves. At this moment, Qin Qinghuang seemed to have become the immortal bird from 100,000 years ago, who had killed countless worlds and star domains. She had spread destruction and death, and the intelligent races of every star domain were wiped out one by one. Everyone knew that wherever the immortal bird passed, all living beings disappeared without a trace. Chapter 1150. In the Hauran, the Land of Terror. In front of the silver-white Een Mountain, Zuan, whose body was covered by the sky-observing mirror, felt the suppression of the great path as soon as he arrived. In front of him, on the ground where Een Chi lingered like smoke and clouds, there was another piece of soft land with only one tree on it. At this moment, the emerald-green leaves of the mysterious tree had all turned yellow and cracked, as if they had lost all of their energy and moisture. "What's this?" White Bones, who was wearing a brown robe and hadEen's sunflower essence flowing out of his body like a spring, seemed to have refined a skin bag. Not only did he have flesh and blood, but he also had a handsome appearance. As the first ghost god in the history of the Land of Terror, he was in the limelight. According to the soul of the Blue Luan in the Great Swamp, this should be the 3rd nest of the undying bird. Zuan narrowed his eyes and looked at the White Bones ghost god who had refined a human form. He carefully sensed the natural suppression of the Land of Terror and quickly determined that if he fought White Bones in the Land of Terror, he would have no chance of winning. Of course, if the battle took place in the heaven-reaching mountain range, White Bones would have no chance of winning either. The rebirth nest of the undying bird? White Bones was surprised. Yes, it's the rebirth nest that all forces have been searching for but have never found, Zuan answered. Zuan replied. Immediately after, he noticed that the strange tree seemed to be rapidly withering. The regeneration ability contained within the strange tree seemed to be quietly taken away by a force. At this moment, in the northern part of the tranquil continent, where the Goblin Temple was located, clusters of dark purple demonic energy gathered like thick clouds. The hidden experts of the Devil's Palace, the Red Devil School, the Heavenly Diabolism Sect, the Voodoo Sect, the Medicine God Sect, the Tool Sect, and many other sects located on this continent were all alarmed. Countless gazes, spiritual senses, and demonic thoughts were paying close attention to the purple demonic energy. Purple demonic energy condensed into clouds that suddenly howled in the void. A moment later, they appeared above the Land of Terror. White Bones and Zu, and fell silent instantly. They raised their heads and looked at the vast purple clouds. Their gazes penetrated the Inchi of the land of terror and fell into the deepest part of the sea of purple clouds. Inside, White Bones and Zuin could vaguely see a purple phoenix spreading its wings. All of a sudden, the nether rivers of the netherworld at the source of the Een veins in the land of terror became turbulent, and the will of the source of the Een veins became clearer. Zuan's face was solemn. There was no panic on Bai Gu's handsome face. He stared at the sea of purple clouds in the sky without blinking. In the entire tranquil continent, those who dared to stare at the sea of purple clouds below became nervous. There were even more people who didn't even dare to look at the vast sea of purple clouds. Those who knew what was happening didn't even dare to breathe loudly. After what seemed like a century, the purple sea of clouds floating in the sky above the land of despair from the Goblin Temple finally dissipated. It was as if it had never appeared. Those who had been paying close attention to the movements above the land of terror through various means finally heaved a sigh of relief. As long as I don't leave, if she dares to intrude, she'll have to face me and it. White Bones smiled and pointed to the ground under his feet. Old Monster Zoo, you don't have to worry. Since I took the initiative to call you here, I have this confidence. As long as I don't leave the land of terror, Howren's primordial spirit and demon god can't do anything to me. That's good. Zuin heaved a long sigh of relief. Even though he had already attained the primordial spirit, he still felt nervous at that moment. The Supreme of the Goblin Temple had arrived in the sky above the land of terror with her demonic energy wrapped in her demon soul. Perhaps in the next moment, she would be able to gather all her power and descend with her true body. Who in the world wouldn't be afraid? Zuin asked himself. He had just become a god not long ago. Even if he faced the full descent of the demonic phoenix in the Lintian mountain range, his scalp would still be numb. Perhaps only existences like the desolate god, who had attained the Tao for thousands of years and refined the Great Lake, would be fearless. The reason why White Bones of the Phantom God could be so calm was not only because he had ascended to the Supreme of the Ghost Tao, but also because the most peculiar creature in Howren under his feet would help him deal with everything. Princess Qing Luan has borrowed the regeneration and destruction abilities of this lair of rebirth and the lair of destruction in the Great Lake. White Bones thought for a moment and said in a deep and cautious tone, "The One Underground told me that Princess Qing Luan is in the Blood Demon Tribe's Holy Land, the Primordial Blood Continent. And in the Primordial Blood Continent, there is another existence as ancient and special as it." Zuin was stunned. As ancient and special as it? Yes, that is the creator of the Blood Demon Tribe. It was born in the chaotic nothingness and is called the origin of the Yang Vein. The Great Lake of Desolate God. The gray-haired old Yuan looked at the lair of destruction in surprise. It quickly shrank and became like a straw hat woven from branches that mortals wore on their heads in summer. "Bluebird? Are you dead?" "No." The Blue Luan's feeble voice came from the nest, which was thousands of times smaller than before. "Lord Desolate, my master is in another realm." The destruction power that was sealed in this nest was suddenly drained clean. "I know. Zuin just told me that it is in the Blood Demon Tribe's Holy Land, the place called the Primordial Blood Continent." After the old ape said this, he suddenly sighed and mumbled, "Ah, another old friend died in battle. The Primordial Blood Continent." Blue Phoenix screamed. "Old Elephant is dead." The Goblin Temple sensed it. Even the old Demon Phoenix was alarmed. The old ape sighed to himself. They haven't really clashed with the Shunhun sect yet, but many of them have already gone down the path of death. Who caused all this? Who is to blame? In the next moment, the old ape suddenly revealed his true form. A giant ape hundreds of thousands of meters tall that seemed to be bathed in a dazzling galaxy suddenly appeared in the Great Lake. Then, he let out a roar in the direction of the northern part of the tranquil continent. The giant ape's head pushed against Howren's realm barrier. It seemed like it could break the world with just a little bit of force. The weak couldn't hear his roar at all, but all the great demons whose bloodlines had reached level 9 and Freedom Realm cultivators of the same level felt their eardrums rumble. Humans and demons who weren't strong enough didn't even have the right to look directly at him or sense his presence and existence. A phoenix cry rang out from the depths of the Goblin Temple's oldest demon god temple. The great demons in the Goblin Temple, and scattered all over the world, who were loyal to the Goblin Temple stopped whatever they were doing when they heard the phoenix cry. They all looked in the direction of the Goblin Temple and lowered their proud heads to show their humility to the supreme existence. Old Yuan, whose head was facing the sky and feet on the Great Lake, let out a cold snort. Then, he withdrew his shocking demon body. Powerful experts from the 5 major forces will swarm out of the fairies of stars closest to the Origin Blood continent and join hands to slaughter the Blood Devils. After withdrawing his true form, Old Yuan looked at the lair of destruction. If your master can survive and escape the Origin Blood continent, he'll have a chance to live. The sacred land of the Blood Demons. Chen Qinghuang's cry of death caused all the Blood Demon clansmen around her to die like fireworks. The strange Dharma idol with 3 faces and 6 arms facing in different directions suddenly changed into a different posture with 3 faces side by side and the arms facing in the same direction. Princess Qing Luan's Dharma idol rose steadily. The lair of death was like a belt around her Dharma idol's waist. It turned into the source of her Dharma idol's power. The 6 hands of her enormous avatar slowly pressed down on the prismatic dragon-slaying platform. The supernatural powers of death, destruction, and regeneration flowed on the surface of the platform like ripples of water, combining with such a famous and wondrous object. Split open the sky. Chen Qinghuang's Dharma idol held the dragon-slaying platform and stabbed toward the dark red boundary wall of the Origin Blood continent. Rumble! The void seemed to be collapsing and time seemed to stop. Countless blood demons were killed. Countless stars, suns, and moons in the dark red boundary wall were instantly destroyed. A huge hole was pierced in the sky of the Origin Blood continent. Chen Qinghuang's Dharma idol held the dragon-slaying platform and the lair of death around its waist and rushed out through the hole in the boundary wall. Chapter 1151. A crimson full moon hung in the dark, cold universe, releasing an eerie red light. The scattered stars were all dim and far away from each other, scattered in this part of the universe. Princess Qing Luan's Dharma idol with 3 heads and 6 arms broke through the realm barrier of the Blood Origin continent with the dragon beheading platform, which had been enlarged thousands of times. Like a gray rainbow, it instantly appeared in the cold, lonely universe. Princess Qing Luan's magical Dharma idol's slender waist was surrounded by the lair of death like a magical belt. The death, destruction, and regeneration powers in the lair were endlessly transferred into the Dharma idol's body, causing it to become infinitely large, as if it could fill the entire vast universe. The crimson full moon hanging in the sky above her head was like a felt hat. The 3 laws of the great Tao gathered inside her Dharma idol like rivers that would never dry up. They supported the wondrous Dharma idol and gave it the power to destroy the world. Billions of miles away, the stars that were dimmed by the crimson full moon trembled in despair because of her Dharma idol's sudden appearance in this part of the universe. The beings of the realms that had been tamed by the blood demons and chosen to submit to them seemed to smell the aura of the apocalypse. Countless people cried, knelt, and prayed to the heavens, calling out the names of the legendary gods. Ferguson, Valentine, Felicio, Grec. The so-called gods they were calling out to were the great demon gods in the history of the blood demons who had broken through to level 10 bloodlines. The foreign races that had been enslaved by the blood demons and lived in this part of the universe regarded all the great demon gods born from the blood demons as true gods, and worshipped them for generations. At this moment, those with sharp spiritual perception felt the aura of destruction and death spreading like a plague, so they prayed to the gods. Unfortunately, the gods in their hearts had long since been killed by the strongest experts in Howren and disappeared into history. Girl Chun. Tan Chun Shan raised his head high in the lair of death. He, who hadn't displayed his power or manifested his Dharma idol, was as small as a mosquito in front of Princess Qing Luan's Dharma idol. He was still in shock, excited, and joyful from surviving a disaster. "Who are you?" "Her?" Yu Zhu and Yu Yi stayed to Yu Yuan's left and right, and were greatly puzzled. The power Chen Qinghuang had displayed was so shocking that even Yu Yi, who was knowledgeable, couldn't see through it. She couldn't understand how her combat strength had soared to such heights in such a short time. She was almost equal to a demon god. "I'll leave the rest to you. I've already done my best." Chen Qinghuang's voice actually came from the death lair, and not from the majestic Dharma form that seemed to carry the stars and was comparable to the sun and the moon. Her voice was full of exhaustion and weakness. Whoosh! Her Dharma idol shrank rapidly, and after a few breaths, her strange Dharma idol had disappeared. The beautiful figure, surrounded by thousands of wisps of regeneration power, lay quietly in the center of the lair in front of Yu Yuan and sank bit by bit. Her eyelids were so heavy that she couldn't open them. She could only close them weakly. The destruction power and most of the regeneration power that had appeared out of nowhere quickly disappeared in the lair of death through the mysterious secret passage. In the distant, dim stars, the outsiders who were praying cheered and praised the true God. This was because the terrifying aura of death and destruction had disappeared into thin air. When I was on the primordial blood continent, I heard Monk of the Blood Demon say that the immortal bird was being resurrected through her. Yu Yi put down the icicle in her hand and looked at Consort Han, who suddenly transformed into the ice goddess. "Do you know if Monk was telling the truth?" "The immortal bird." Consort Han's teeth seemed to be chattering as she said these three words. Her eyes were filled with hatred and fear as she looked at Princess Qing Luan, who was gradually sinking and returning to her human form. "I don't know, but I did feel the purest sense of destruction and death just now. As for Monk, I don't think he would spout nonsense." Everyone's expression changed dramatically upon hearing these words. The legend of the immortal bird was forever associated with destruction and death. This bird of death, born at the beginning of the chaos, was the nightmare of all living beings. At the mention of her, the first thing that came to everyone's mind was the extinction of all living beings. If that bird of death was really going to be resurrected from Chen Qinghuang's body and reappear in the boundless starry river, wouldn't the races that had tried their best to kill her 100,000 years ago vomit blood? Yu Yuan looked at Princess Qing Luan in silence. He knew that she had used the dragon beheading platform to break the realm barrier of the primordial blood continent, and that she must have consumed all of her known and unknown power. She was so weak that she fell into a deep sleep. "Don't make wild guesses." Yu Yuan frowned and snorted softly as he scolded Yu Yi, the cauldron soul. "Without her, I'm afraid we would have died in the primordial blood continent. Whether or not the immortal bird will be resurrected from her body, we have to protect her from death." "Master, you misunderstand," Yu Yi hastily explained. "I just don't want her to be replaced by the immortal bird. The blood demons won't give up on hunting us down." Tan Chun Shan was very calm. Given the great demon god Grek's methods, he must know that she's extremely weak after rushing out of the primordial blood continent. It won't be long before all of the blood demon experts come for her. Yui nodded slightly and said, "We have to get out of this domain as soon as possible. Let's put that aside for now. Mr. Tan, you're the most familiar with outer space. Please show us the way." Yu Yuan humbly asked for guidance. With a thought, the dragon-subduing platform, which had been magnified thousands of times, turned into a long, grayish-white stone and fell into his palm. The dragon subduing platform, which had displayed its full power, was too obvious a target that would be easily noticed by the blood demons. Therefore, he had to shrink back to his normal form as soon as possible. He turned around and glanced at the blood-colored continent, judging the distance. Chen Qinghuang's Dharma idol used the special ability hidden in the dragon subduing platform to give us an extra ride after breaking through the realm barrier of the primordial blood continent. Tan Chun Shan narrowed his eyes and sensed for a while. Soon, he had an answer. The primordial blood continent is still a bit far from where we are right now. If I'm not mistaken, the blood demons have already chased us out and are searching for traces of our existence. Yu Yuan and the others waited for his decision. Tan Chun Shan had wandered the Starry River for many years, and lived in many foreign worlds. He was very knowledgeable and experienced. Yu Yuan chose to believe him. A bloody light visible to the naked eye suddenly flew straight towards them from the direction of the blood-colored continent. "They're here." Tan Chun Shan frowned. He wasn't surprised at all. He hesitated for a moment and said, "I know of a hidden galaxy ferry not far from the primordial blood continent. Very few people come to that ferry because there are too many foreign heavenly devils nearby, and all of them are loyal to the great demon god Grek. Therefore, it's a bit too dangerous." "A galaxy ferry?" Yu Yi exclaimed softly. She thought for a moment and said, "Is it Chi Sun Ferry? You know about it too?" Tan Chun Shan was surprised. Chi Sun Ferry has been firmly in the hands of the Red Devil School since it was created. The experts of the three great sects, the Devil's Palace, and the Goblin Temple occasionally use that ferry. Yu Yi looked a bit worried. "If we go to Chi Sun Ferry, we may run into people from the five great forces. Old Elephant is dead, King Wei Ling is dead, and many people from the Devil's Palace and the Goblin Temple are dead. We can't get away with it." She knew that her previous master had been destroyed by the three great sects with the tacit approval of the Devil's Palace and the Goblin Temple. Therefore, she was full of hostility towards the five great forces of Howren. Then, her ancient memories awakened, and she learned that she used to be a part of the Shunhun sect. She hated them even more. Chi Sun Ferry belonged to the Red Devil School, and the experts of the Goblin Temple and the Devil's Palace often used it for activities. Wouldn't it be suicide if they went there? "Listen to Mr. Tan," Yu Yuan yelled. As soon as he said this, he saw the lair of death where everyone was turned into streaks of gray light shrink toward the center and slowly disappear. They disappeared into Princess Qing Luan's acupoint. The female emperor reappeared, floating in the void, motionless. Yu Yuan thought for a moment and released the dragon beheading platform in his hand, supporting Chen Qinghuang's beautiful body, which was so weak that it had fainted. "Let's go to that Chi Sun Ferry. Come with me." Tan Chun Shan stepped on a crescent moon and waved his hand, beckoning the people who were originally in the lair of death to move to his spiritual tool. "Rest well. We can't relax. Since we've been discovered, the outsider races that rely on the blood demons in this star domain will all intercept and kill us. Grek, Menk, and the other elders are quickly approaching." Chapter 1152. The Chi Sun realm was riddled with holes. The realm barrier had been torn apart. Due to the invasion of the Red Devil School, the Crypt race had abandoned the world filled with underground cave. The Crypt race lived in the depths of the realm all year round. There were originally 6 Crypt race cities in the underground of the Chi Sun realm. At this moment, in an underground city where the Crypt race used to live, in a dusty and cobweb-covered home, a dried-up well suddenly glowed brightly. Unusual spatial fluctuations suddenly appeared from the dry well. A while later, the spatial fluctuations gradually stabilized. The cultivators of the Red Devil School led by Zhang Guanyu stepped out of the dry well one after another. Zhou Tsangmin, Zhan Runan, and Sun Jun were among them. Zhang Guanyu, who was at the middle stage of the Freedom Realm, took out many banners from his sleeves the moment he appeared. He stuck them next to the dry well and concealed everyone's vitality and soul. He said solemnly, Chi Sun realm is extremely close to Dark Star region. We need to be as careful as possible. What's wrong with the Devil's Palace and the Goblin Temple? Jean Runin frowned as he looked up at the grayish-brown rock wall hundreds of meters above his head. He inhaled the dark, damp, and rotten air. The Red Devil School hasn't used the Star River Ferry in the Chi Sun realm for many years. Sun Jun, who was usually calm, didn't say anything. He just looked at Zhou Tsangmin next to him with an inquiring gaze. Although Zhou Tsangmin had yet to break through to the Freedom Realm, Zhou Tsangmin was famed for his outstanding intelligence and was also the designated Devil Seed. He believed that since Zhou Tsangmin had personally come here, the matter must be of great importance. It's not just us. Zhou Tsangmin didn't smile as usual. His expression was grim. The Devil's Palace, the Goblin Temple, and the three great sections. All the experts and great demons who can spare time will come here through the Chi Sun Ferry. Ah! In addition to Jean Runin, several other Red Devil School cultivators at the Yang God level also exclaimed in unison. What happened? Jean Runin asked humbly. Something big has happened. Zhang Guanyu was the one who answered. He sighed bitterly and said, The ancient god of Golden Elephant is dead, and King Wei Ling of the Devil's Palace has also died. The yang spirit body that Zhu Zhenying, that good-for-nothing brat, had painstakingly condensed should have also exploded. Mo Yan's yang spirit was destroyed, and his real body was in Howren. Unfortunately, he was too weak to explain the situation. Lord Golden Elephant and Lord Wei Ling have both died? Apart from Zhou Tsangmin, who already knew about the situation, all the Red Devil School's major cultivators present turned pale with fright. Sun Jun took a deep breath. He knew why the Star River Ferry in the Chi Sun domain had to be opened, and why the Devil's Palace and the Goblin Temple had to mobilize so many people. They died in the Dark Star zone ruled by the Blood Demons. To be more precise, it was in the birthplace of the Blood Demons, the primordial blood continent. Zhang Guanyu said with a cold face, The desolate god told the Goblin Temple that the three godly kings of the Shenhun sect had killed the great demon god Grek in the Annihilation Star Zone. Under such circumstances, the deaths of the ancient god of Golden Elephant, King Wei Ling, and many experts of the Devil's Palace and the Goblin Temple on the primordial blood continent must be strange. The fastest way to enter the Dark Star Zone is through the Chi Sun Ferry that we secretly created back then, so Zhang Guanyu didn't say anything else. But all the cultivators of the Red Devil School immediately felt a sense of urgency, as if a storm was coming. They seemed to see the Devil's Palace, the Goblin Temple, and the major cultivators of various sects and forces in Howren entering the Chi Sun domain from different realms through the Chi Sun Ferry. Golden Elephant is dead, Zhou Tsangmin said softly. The Goblin Temple won't let this go. It's said that the Kylan has already left the Demon God Temple. The Kylan? The Goblin Temple has made such a big move this time. Because of the death of Lord Gold Elephant, a bloody storm that will sweep across the Dark Star area is destined to start. Hearing that the Kylan of the Goblin Temple, second only to the demonic phoenix, might enter the Dark Star Zone, the cultivators of the Red Devil School immediately knew that a fierce battle would break out in the Blood Demon's domain. This was going to be a fierce battle. Because of the birth of the great demon god Grek and his strong rise, the Blood Demon race had become the second largest race of extraterrestrial demons in the Outer Realms. Countless extraterrestrial demons worshipped Grek, and many extraterrestrial demons of other races followed Grek's lead. Grek's prestige and foundation in the entire extraterrestrial demon race was second only to the Patriarch. If the experts of Howren invaded the Dark Star Zone en masse, it would probably incur the wrath of the extraterrestrial demons in the Outer Realms. The extraterrestrial demon races that leaned toward Grek would most likely madly swarm in. At that time, there would definitely be a fierce battle that would shake the universe. Let's not think too much. Just guard the Chi Sun ferry and make sure it can be used at any time before they arrive, Zhou Tsangmin said with a smile. Under the crimson full moon, an inconspicuous crescent moon flew through the dark and cold universe, traveling millions of kilometers in a breath. Yu Yuan moved a finger away from the sleeping Chen Qinghuang's forehead and said with a deep frown, strange. Her small world in her sea of consciousness is actually chaotic. Her soul seems to have left her mind and entered the profound gate acupoint in her chest. But her profound gate acupoint is like a closed gate. I can't sense it at all. I'm also worried that the immortal bird will be reborn in her body, Tan Chun Shan said worriedly. Yu Zhu and Yu Yi's expressions turned serious. I don't dare to forcibly break open her small world of blood and flesh. I don't want to add to her injuries and never wake up again. Yu Yuan thought for a moment and said, forget it. I don't want to help her wake up early. Then, his mind and soul thoughts moved. Swoosh. His illusory nether soul quietly arrived at the place where the dragon of space-time was buried, and saw the baby Titanspinosaurus, which was still absorbing the dragon corpse's crystalline light and refining it into its dragon-shaped skeleton. Its skeleton had already taken shape, but its tendons and flesh hadn't been refined yet. The baby's soul seemed to be growing rapidly. Sensing the appearance of his nether soul, it sent him joyful and grateful soul fluctuations, as if it were very close to him. Shaking her head, Yu Yuan was speechless with mixed feelings. Yu Yi's performance made him realize that he had most likely been the dragon slayer, the one who had refined the dragon beheading platform, and the one who had truly controlled it in his first life. He had led the human experts and joined forces with the demon gods of the Goblin Temple to slaughter the supreme dragons of Hauran. He had almost destroyed the dragon race's glory for thousands of years, and left the dragon beheading platform in the dragon vein to suppress the dragon race's destiny, making it impossible for the current dragon race to give birth to a rank 10 dragon god. The dragon race was born from Titanspinosaurus, and this one was a descendant of Titanspinosaurus. I don't know if saving you and hatching you is tantamount to raising a tiger. He muttered to himself and was about to withdraw his nether soul. However, at this moment, the baby dragon that had already taken shape released a wave of soul fluctuations that he could comprehend. Yu Yuan's nether soul trembled slightly. After a long time, he withdrew from the dragon beheading platform. You boy, you don't look good, Tan Chunshan said. Yu Yuan, whose nether soul had returned, looked up at the crimson full moon and said, wherever it shines, no one can escape the gaze of the origin of the yang vein. There is the power of the origin of the yang vein in there. This crimson full moon can be seen as one of its eyes. I was wondering why the blood demon race could accurately lock onto us. Tan Chunshan slapped his thigh and cursed. I just tried to use the essence of the moon that I comprehended to affect the full moon and almost suffered a backlash. Damn it, my attempt has exposed us even more. Also, Yu Yuan dragged his voice and looked down at the sleeping Chen Qinghuang. He said, don't worry about it. The immortal bird doesn't need to be resurrected through her. She is a magical product that the immortal bird reborn to adapt to the new era. The immortal bird's third rebirth nest has always been in Hauran. The immortal bird wants to be reborn in the form of a human, so she is born. What? She is the immortal bird? The new generation of the immortal bird? Tan Chunshan, Yu Zhu, and Yu Yi cried out together. Yu Yuan nodded deeply and said, when she wakes up again, the three essences of the great Tao left behind by the immortal bird will truly merge into one. At that time, she may be a nascent divinity or a demon god. Her path to godhood can completely ignore the rules of Hauran, so she will definitely surpass the scope of the 13 divine thrones in Hauran. Chapter 1153. The immortal bird didn't want to use Qin Qinghuang's body to be resurrected. Qin Qinghuang was the immortal bird's reincarnation. When Tan Chun Shan and the others learned the truth from Yu Yuan, they were all shocked beyond words. They couldn't believe it and wanted to confirm whether Yu Yuan was wrong. The news came from the young Titanspinosaurus on the dragon beheading platform. Yu Yuan lowered his head and touched the smooth and cool stone platform with one hand. He murmured, "From the moment she appeared in Howren, it meant that the immortal bird had been reborn. The reason why she chose Howren and took the form of a human is because the humans of Howren have become the strongest race in the universe. She also needs to follow the trend of the times and move in a new way in the present universe." The corner of Yu Yuan's mouth twitched, and a strange smile appeared on his face. "The life altar in my body can be built so smoothly. I guess the Chaos Kuan secretly contributed to it. The Chaos Kuan also wants to try a brand new great Tao through me. It wants to use the life altar in my body to undergo a brand new transformation." He looked at the boundless universe, the dim stars, and the crimson full moon hanging high above his head. The ancient star behemoths realized that the times have changed and opened new paths. However, the immortal bird went even further. I don't know what method she used, but she was completely reborn in the form of a human. The Chaos Kuan hesitated and held back. She died in the Annihilation star field, so she was reborn as a human without holding back. After saying this, many of his questions were answered. Why did the Peacock King, who was loyal to the Goblin Temple, suddenly change sides and secretly stand by Qin Qinghuang's side? Why did the Blue Luan protect Qin Qinghuang with all her heart and was even willing to die for her when she was young? She had only re-entered the outer realm after dispersing in Qing Luan City. How did she find the Annihilation lair so coincidentally? He could also attain the power of regeneration within the Annihilation Hive, thereby allowing him to fuse with the Annihilation Hive and return to the Freedom Realm. Why? Because she was the immortal bird. Even though the Peacock King and the Blue Phoenix did not know her true identity, the luck and unique mark she carried were enough to make the Peacock King and the Blue Phoenix instinctively trust her and serve her loyally. That was because she was the ancestor of the birds in terms of life level and origin. The birds of the world were naturally close to her. In their bloodline imprints there was reverence and worship for her. When they smelled her aura, they were willing to fight for her. My Howren great world is truly a treasured land that everyone covets. Tan Chun Shan sighed and shook his head. The supreme Titanspinosaurus chose this place as its burial ground. The immortal bird that was besieged and killed 100,000 years ago purposely came to Howren to be reborn. Tsk. He suddenly let out a cold harumph, and hundreds of shining moonblades shot towards the dim land in front of him. Crack! A grayish-brown celestial river battleship suddenly appeared from its hidden state, and under the cutting of the moonblade, it suddenly disintegrated and broke apart in the void. Then, they saw small crypt race clansmen shrieking as they fled. The snow-white moonblades chased after them, and the crypt race clansmen were killed one after another. There are different races living on the stars of the Dark Domain. The crypt race is only one of them. Tan Chun Shan said with an indifferent expression. Most of the crypt race clansmen migrated from the Chi Sun realm to the Dark Domain. The realms they used to live in were attacked by the Red Devil School, and the realm barrier was shattered. The Moonblades were merciless. The crypt race warriors were all killed in a single blow. Seeing this, Yu Yuan summoned Gendo's blood prison from his acupoint. Swish! Gendo unleashed scarlet, blood-colored light that flashed in the void. Then, following Nye Tian's will, it reaped the lives of the crypt race along with the Moonblades. Those killed by the Moonblades were reduced to pieces that fell from the sky. Those killed by Gendo had their blood and souls devoured in an instant, leaving only their bones and a layer of skin. I suffered a backlash when I attacked the realm barrier of the primordial blood continent for the first time. Sensing the greed and desire of the blood souls in Gendo, Yu Yuan said, "This Gendo seems to have become docile and obedient to me. It can even give me blood essence now. Is it because of the life altar inside of you?" Yui asked curiously. Just as Yu Yuan was about to answer, he saw U2 appear among the fleeing crypt race with a whoosh, wrapped in a thick poisonous mist. Those killed by her moonblades and enveloped by her poisonous mist were reduced to pools of blood one after another. Bits of bloody light flew out of the pools of blood and were absorbed into the translucent bones on her back, where they were refined into her internal organs and bones. "The blood god's blood refining art," Tan Chun Shan exclaimed in surprise. "No, I'm using the blood demon race's blood restraining art," U2 answered, but then felt that it was inappropriate, so she corrected herself. "The blood refining incantation and the blood restraining incantation are the same. You can say that they are the same secret incantation to absorb the essence of blood." Yu Yuan nodded. "That's right." He could tell that after refining the second blood-colored crystal from the great demon god Grek into her demon heart, she had successfully digested it and mastered some basic blood demon divine abilities. She was a great demon, not a human on the blood god's side. She didn't rely on spirit power to fight, and she didn't possess a unique bloodline. Therefore, when she cast the blood demon race's innate secret art in this strange body of hers, it immediately took effect. Under the effect of the blood restraining art, the crypt race clansmen were quickly reduced to dry bones and skin, their flesh and blood essence stripped clean. They must have been summoned here by the blood demon race, and are watching us like sentinels. While killing the crypt race clansmen with his moonblades, Tan Chun Shan said to Yu Yuan and U2, "You did the right thing. Both Gendo's blood prison and U2's blood refining art are effective in eliminating future troubles. I can only kill them, but I can't clean them up so thoroughly." It was as if they were trying to prove his words. The crypt race clansmen who had been killed by his moonblades and whose flesh and blood essence hadn't been drained by Gendo's blood prison or U2's blood refining art had fallen to the ground in pieces, but they were soon pieced back together and reappeared with incomplete bodies. Moreover, their auras were clearly even more terrifying than when they were alive. The eyes of the incomplete crypt race clansmen glowed red. At first glance, it was obvious that they had been possessed by the blood demon race's experts, who had used their power. On a dark continent that wasn't surrounded by a realm barrier, the earth was shaking and horrifying ravines appeared. The mutated monsters hidden deep underground seemed to have broken free from their shackles and rushed to the dark galaxy silently. The numerous mutant monsters identified their direction in the starry sky and immediately charged towards Yu Yuan and the others. Before long, hundreds of mutant monsters of different races had surrounded Yu Yuan and the others, attacking them with all their might as if they didn't know what death was. What is Grek trying to do by secretly raising so many mutant monsters? Tan Chun Shan's expression was very ugly. Riding the crescent moon, his Een divinity rampaged through the swarm of mutant monsters, crushing and killing them. The remains of the galaxy howled as they floated in the air. The chaotic, explosive power surged like a storm. The crescent moon-like artifact was extremely sharp, and it even shot out cold moonlight. The mutant monsters died one after another. The baleful demon cauldron that Yu had refined into armor had returned to its original state. It swayed among the mutant monsters, and from time to time, it would suck in the tainted souls of the mutant monsters. Once the souls of the mutant monsters were absorbed into the baleful demon cauldron and refined, they would all become ferocious baleful demons. The baleful demon cauldron needed tens of millions of baleful demons to grow stronger and evolve. The souls of these mutant monsters were excellent nourishment and nutrients for the cauldron. Even the high-grade baleful demons that could reach the top and awaken their memories in the future would need to absorb power from the low-grade baleful demon. Therefore, when Yue saw the appearance of so many mutant monsters, she seemed to have found materials to upgrade the baleful demon cauldron. Therefore, she wantonly collected and refined them. Manipulated by Yu Yuan's Yin divinity, Blood Hell Gendo ignored the mutant monsters for now and focused on hunting down the crypt race members possessed by the blood demon. Mr. Tan, there's a rank 9 blood demon elder hiding in the bodies of the mutant monsters or crypt race members. In the depths of the misty, poisonous sea of clouds, Yutu's enormous body appeared. His emerald eyes scanned the area like giant lanterns, hoping to find the key person. Chapter 1154. Broken continents floated in the middle of a wondrous realm that looked like a whirlpool. In one of the larger continents, a black lake with numerous cracks could be seen on its surface, which looked like a cracked mirror. The frozen lake water was completely still. Strange spatial light gradually flowed out of the crack. Many Azura corpses and heavenly devils' discarnate will and souls could be vaguely seen at the bottom of the lake. This was the demon abyss of calamity. The lake was the one that had been blocked by Grek and the Shura of Gojoseon earlier. Many human grand cultivators, powerful experts from other realms, and phantoms that were well versed in spatial power could be seen at the bottom of the lake. They seemed to be under someone's command, as they cast secret magics to clear the impurities that had filled the tunnel and reorganize the hidden spatial meridians. The Azuras that had been stationed here and the heavenly devils that had followed Grek's orders had long since disappeared. In a floating meteor that was clearly different from the one in the demon abyss of calamity, Yen Qiling was the only person standing on it. Standing at the edge of the lake, he narrowed his eyes and stared at the tunnel that connected to the forbidden land of the falling moons. From time to time, he would send out wisps of soul awareness to the humans and outsiders that were busy inside, letting them know what to do next. All of a sudden, Zhou Yu from the Tongtian Trading Company flew over on his horsetail whisk and landed on the ground. "Mr. Zhou. Mr. Yen." The two of them exchanged pleasantries. "Did President Li ask you to help me?" With a faint smile at the corner of his mouth, Yen Qiling said with a somewhat tired voice, "Grek and the Shura of Gojoseon and Sabonis did too much damage to the tunnel down there. I've mobilized the power of the Shenhun sect and gathered so many experts who are well versed in spatial power, but I still can't sort them out in a short time." "You've misunderstood. I'm not here to help you." With a bitter expression, Zhou Yu let out a long sigh before saying, "Grek is Grek after all. The backup plan he left behind allowed him to come back to life on the primordial blood continent. After careful planning, I only managed to keep his peak blood demon body and his blood demon blood." Yen Qiling also received the news of the battle in the Annihilation Starfield. He nodded and said, "Didn't Shura of Gojoseon escape back to the Dark Domain after his realm dropped? In a short period of time, Shura of Gojoseon will definitely not dare to step out of the Dark Domain again, and Grek will not be able to return to his peak in a short period of time. Don't be discouraged. We can accept this result. After all, what the Shenhun sect really wants is to use Grek's demon blood and the life altar inside his body to hatch a baby Titanspinosaurus." On the other hand, Yen Qiling was free and easy. He was even in the mood to console Zhou Yu. "My mission this time is to build a branch of the Tongtian Trading Company in the demonic abyss of calamity. The other thing is..." Zhou Yu's expression gradually became serious. "I'm here to tell you that the third nest of the immortal bird, which you've been searching for to no avail, is actually not outside the Milky Way, but inside Hauran. The rebirth nest reappeared in Sky Bird Forest. Later, it was brought to the Land of Terror by Zhu-an and protected by the white bones of the demon god." He made a long story short and told Yen Qiling about the major events that had happened in Hauran. Yen Qiling listened in a daze. After a long time, he sorted out his thoughts and said with a complicated expression, According to Zuan and the Desolate God's judgment, Princess Qingluan is the rebirth of the immortal bird? Zhou Yu nodded. Did Yu Yuan go missing with her in the dim maze starfield to seek the advancement of his yang spirit? Yan Qiling asked again. Zhou Yu nodded again. Ancient god Golden Elephant and King Wei Ling died on the Origin Blood Continent? Yan Qiling exclaimed. Yes. Yu Yuan and Princess Qingluan must be in the Blood Demon race's dark galaxy. When the great demon god Grek was resurrected and ancient god Golden Elephant and King Wei Ling died on the Origin Blood Continent, Yu Yuan should be there too. Yan Qiling said with certainty in a deep voice. They are two unrelated groups of people in different starfield. How did you connect them? Zhou Yu was speechless. Because Yu Yuan is known as the god of plagues. Wherever he goes, the sky will fall. Yan Qiling gave a mysterious answer. Believe me, Yu Yuan, Qin Qinghuang, and others should be in the dark galaxy. Zhou Yu was shocked. I have another piece of news. I thought it had nothing to do with us, so I didn't tell you. The Qi Sun Ferry that the Red Devil School opened a long time ago has been reactivated. The experts of the three high sects, the Devil's Palace, and the Goblin Temple have been summoned and are rushing to the Qi Sun Ferry. It is said that even the Qilin has been alerted. Yan Qiling was shocked. Is it because ancient god Golden Elephant is dead? Yes. Zhou Yu nodded. The Goblin Temple won't let that old elephant die in vain. His death is a great humiliation to the Goblin Temple. The Goblin Temple will let the Blood Demon race know what price they will pay. Inform President Li as soon as possible and tell him to tell the people of the Shunhun sect that the Immortal Bird and Yu Yuan are in the Dark Galaxy. It is very likely that the Blood Demon race is still chasing after them, Yan Qiling urged anxiously. Although I don't know if you are telling the truth, I will pass the news to you immediately. Zhou Yu didn't dare to delay. He only stayed for a while and then left in a hurry. In the Dark Galaxy. Tan Chun Shan floated in the sky like an illusory moon. After he summoned his Dharma idol, the dozens of mutant devil creatures around him were smashed into clouds of blood mist by the moon energy he released with a wave of his hand. The crescent moon was above his Dharma idol's head. Only Yu Yuan and Yu Yi were still guarding the dragon beheading platform. On the dragon beheading platform lay the unconscious Princess Qingluan. Inside the dense poisonous mist, thousands of blood-red spider threads flew out of the mist and dragged those underground creatures possessed by the blood devil into the mist one after another. The scalp-numbing sound of flesh melting and blood-curdling screams came from inside the mist. No matter who it was, no matter if they were possessed by the blood demon or not, they couldn't escape the fate of being devoured by her and having all of their refined flesh and blood sucked out of them. She obtained a resurrection blood-red crystal from Grek, which is a great benefit to her. Yui watched for a while and then said in surprise, "Her blood is exquisite. The spider threads she makes with her blood and the wonders of the blood-restraining incantation are really powerful. Let's search for that 9th-grade blood demon elder and see where he's hiding," Yu Yuan said. Gendo's blood prison and the baleful demon cauldron were still slaughtering the weak among the mutant devils. These two evil tools were very suitable for dealing with the mutant devils and the crypt race members possessed by the blood demon. Although there were many mutant devils, none of them were outstanding enough to stop Tan Chun Shan. Therefore, Yu Yuan wasn't worried about the 9th-grade blood demon before he showed himself. "Don't stay here for too long, Yu Yuan." Tan Chun Shan's voice came from the miraculous moon Dharma idol. "These mutant devils and the possessed blood demon are only here to delay us. It's also possible that they're here for us to kill and refine by the baleful demon cauldron." Yui's expression changed as she said softly, "That's a possibility. Remember, where is our true target?" Tan Chun Shan reminded her. He didn't say Qi Sun Ferry, but Yu Yuan knew that. After leaving the primordial blood continent, they were heading towards that place. They were going to leave the blood demon race's dark domain through that place. Whoosh, whoosh. A group of otherworldly heavenly devils that were clearly different from the blood devils suddenly appeared in a dark realm 5,000 kilometers away. They flew over in a grandiose manner, like heavenly soldiers and generals that had suddenly appeared. Most of these heavenly devils had refined strange devil bodies instead of the blood demon's natural shells. The light in their eyes was faint purple, like two clusters of purple flames. The devil aura they released and the fluctuations in their devil souls proved that they were from the same race. One after another, the newly arrived heavenly devils, who didn't smell much of flesh and blood, flew directly towards the toxic mist where Yuzhu was. Fizz! The blood-colored threads that had flown out of Yuzhu's body seemed to be torn apart. Go save Yuzhu! Tan Chun Shan's miraculous Dharma idol seemed to know the origin of these heavenly devils, and that they weren't afraid of toxins or bloodline magics. Protect her, Yu Yuan said solemnly. He told Yue to summon the baleful demon cauldron back to protect Chen Qinghuang. Then, he flashed into the thick poisonous mist with only the scabbard of the heaven-raising sword in his hand. He could sense that the new heavenly devils didn't have any flesh or blood in their bodies. Their shells were nothing more than a suit of armor to protect their devil souls. This was the most ancient form of the heavenly devils and their most primitive way of fighting. Chapter 1155. In the depths of the gray, misty clouds, numerous strange-looking heavenly devils pounced on Yuzhu's demon body. The newly emerged heavenly devils were either refining skeletons into their bodies, fusing them with some kind of tough armor, attaching themselves to divine weapons, or even the broken shells of human young gods. None of them had flesh or blood inside, only thick devil souls vibrating within them. Most of the ancient heavenly devils were in this form. They were best at destroying the souls of their enemies with their devil souls, unlike the blood devils, who had flesh and blood and could even activate their bloodline to use their innate talents. The miasma and fire in the poisonous smoke that contained corrosive toxins didn't have much of an effect on these heavenly devils. The giant spider, which was in the shape of a green jade, was sparkling and translucent. Her demonic energy was as dazzling as the sun. She waved her sharp spider legs and cut the intruding heavenly devils into pieces. As her terrifying demonic energy spread out, the souls of the heavenly devils who had lost their armor and skeletons were instantly scattered. However, the blood-restraining spell she cast with her spider threads lost its effect. She could not use the blood-converging technique to extract the essence of flesh and blood from the extraterrestrial devils, who did not have any flesh and blood but only refined armor, bones, and weapons into their bodies, to make up for what she had lost during the battle. Streaks of crimson sword light suddenly flashed in the dark brown smoke, and the heavenly devils that had pounced on her spider legs fell in rows. The souls of these heavenly devils were faint purple, and clusters of dim lanterns appeared. It's the polar heavenly devils. Yu Yuan appeared in front of Yuzhu with a sword sheath in his hand. His eyebrows furrowed. His heavenly soul, which was still trying to refine the crimson life altar in his body into a young god body, had learned the origin of this race by analyzing the blood-colored crystal. The domain where the polar heavenly devils lived wasn't far from the dark domain where the blood devils lived, and there was a secret passage that connected them. The high chieftain of the polar heavenly devils and all of them worshipped the great devil god Grek. The celestial demons could be seen as Grek's most loyal followers. The passage that connected the heavenly devil race to the dark star zone should be hidden somewhere nearby. They must have received the great demon god's order and rushed over from the star zone where they lived to help the blood devil race eliminate them while they were escaping. He swung his sword again. Streaks of crimson sword aura sliced a new wave of polar heavenly devils into pieces. Clusters of faint purple devil souls emerged from the broken bones. They looked like burning purple devil flames, releasing a cold, eerie aura as if they were staring at his soul. A trace of coldness appeared between Yu Yuan's brows. At this moment, the first thought that came to his mind was that if there were a great cultivator from the Thunder Slaughter sect here, with their artifacts and numerous lightning bolts, they should be able to instantly kill the polar heavenly devil that had lost the protection of its devil body and was only left with its devil soul. The reason why the extraterrestrial devils wanted to refine their devil bodies was because they were afraid of encountering existences like the Thunder Scale sect or similar existences that naturally countered them. With their devil bodies, they would be able to ward off most of the lightning strikes, and their devil souls would be unharmed. At this moment, the crimson sword aura he had unleashed with his meteor moon slash could only blow up their devil bodies, but leave their devil souls unharmed. He took a look at Yutu, who looked rather large in her demon form, and said, "Let's withdraw our demon form." In her enlarged form, Yutu waved her spider legs nimbly and cut the polar heavenly devils' bodies to pieces. However, Yutu couldn't easily deal with the clusters of devil souls that looked like purple flames. This was the reason why a large number of polar heavenly devils dared to enter the toxic miasma without fear of Yutu's wrath. After all, Yutu wasn't an outsider like the god of plague. The toxic miasma she had refined into her demon form was only effective against fleshly bodies. Unlike Dark Devil Envoy, her miasma couldn't penetrate the illusory souls of the heavenly devils and erode their devil souls. All right. Yutu knew that in her enlarged form, she would be too obvious a target, and wouldn't be able to take care of her entire body. In the next moment, she transformed back into a skinny, dark-skinned girl. Her back was like a peacock spreading its tail, with many shiny joints growing out of it. Those joints seemed to be a miniature version of her spider legs, which could also be used as sharp blades in her hands. Crack, crack, crack. As she expected, the joints on her back spun rapidly and easily pierced through a few polar heavenly devils, who had forged fancy armors. A few heavenly devils that couldn't escape quickly had their devil souls infiltrated by her demon power, and screamed miserably. "He's Yu Yuan, the human brat who ruined Lord Grek's plan back in the Howran heaven and earth." A purple devil soul that was about 3 acres wide gradually condensed into a purple shadow. "He's worth a fortune. Come with me to attack his soul in his sea of awareness. Remember, don't completely erase his soul. We have to keep his mind clear. We have to capture him alive." The polar heavenly devil suddenly roared crazily. Dozens of clansmen responded to him from all directions, and quickly gathered around him. At a glance, they looked like burning purple lanterns, and it was very strange. Soul attraction. The leader of the polar heavenly devils shouted in the ancient devil language. Yu Yuan shuddered violently. He felt that his Een spirit, his main soul, and even his heavenly soul, which was refining the life altar in his small world, seemed to be tied up by countless ropes. They were about to be pulled out of his body and into the purple flames that the polar extraterrestrial devils were spreading. "Hee, you're just showing off in front of an expert." After the shudder, he immediately stabilized his 3 souls and grinned strangely. "Don't you know that the fiendish demon cauldron in my hand has many similar devil formations? Didn't Grek tell you that I've also cultivated the secret soul arts of the Shenhun sect? The Shenhun sect was created to deal with the purest and oldest orthodox heavenly devils like you." As soon as he finished speaking, he activated the great Een soul art. His Een spirit seemed to spread an aura that was delicious to the heavenly devils in the small world in his sea of consciousness, causing the polar heavenly devils to instantly lose control. The moment he cast the Great Shade Soul spell, he could sense that the demonic soul spells used by the polar heavenly devils had lost their effectiveness. The ancient and pure polar heavenly devils were restrained by the great Een soul art and all the secret soul arts of the Shenhun sect. Whoosh! Whoosh whoosh. The smaller clusters of purple flames directly entered the polar heavenly devil's glabella, ignoring his attempts to stop them. Idiot. He's a member of the Shunhun sect. Don't be tricked into entering his sea of consciousness. The polar heavenly devil, who was the strongest among them, was only barely able to maintain his consciousness and prevent himself from being bewitched by Yu Yuan. However, none of his shouts or soul power seemed to have any effect on Yu Yuan. The weak polar heavenly devil's consciousness was instantly destroyed, and he charged straight at Yu Yuan. I can't believe it's the great Yin soul art. A low and deep voice was transmitted from a dark red armor that was floating in the air. Immediately, one could see the flesh and blood within the armor wiggling. Bones and tendons were swiftly forming, while the internal organs were also being refined. In the blink of an eye, Query, whom Yu Yuan had seen on the primordial blood continent, took shape. As soon as Query spoke, the polar heavenly devils who had been affected by the great Yin soul art all regained their consciousness and stopped when they were about to approach Yu Yuan. Queely's 2 hands stretched out of the armor and gradually grew longer. A few seconds later, he completely transformed into the Query of the primordial blood continent. Compared to Query, he only had an additional set of dark red armor. You go kill the girl from the Goblin Temple. Leave Yu Yuan to me. As Query spoke again, a scarlet river of light appeared out of nowhere between Yu Yuan and Yu Tu, separating the two of them. The scarlet river of light actually contained spatial power, which made Yu Tu and Yu Yuan feel as if they were separated by several worlds even though they could see each other. A blood devil who is well versed in spatial power. Yu Yuan was taken aback. Back on the primordial blood continent, Query had been inconspicuous and hadn't shown his true strength. Most of the time, he had remained silent and stood behind the young Grek, letting Menk and Aphodia take the lead. Who would have thought that Query, who had been inconspicuous before, would be so special? There are many cultivators in the human race who can comprehend the power of space. Why can't we? Query snorted softly. We have flesh and blood. If you humans can do it, we blood devils can do it too, as long as we put in some effort. With these words, he paused for a moment. Then, he said proudly, we are the best race in the vast starry river that surpasses you humans. We blood devils will eventually rule all living beings, follow the will of the gods, and cleanse the Hauran of filth and cancer. Chapter 1156. Kueli, the 9th-grade blood demon, walked towards Yu Yuan step by step, his eyes burning with frenzied blood-red flames. Fizz! 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 The poisonous mist that Yushu exuded and spread into the surroundings made contact with Kueli's blood-colored river of light. Thick smoke instantly rose from the mist, and the poison silently melted away. She had seen the blood-colored river of light that contained spatial power separating her from Yu Yuan, and knew that her innate poisonous power had no effect on the polar heavenly devils. However, if she used it on Kueli, the blood demon, she would definitely be able to make him suffer. Therefore, she had attacked him without hesitation. However, unlike the other blood demons, Kueli was actually well versed in spatial power. The blood-colored river of light prevented Yushu's poisonous mist from getting close to Kueli. On the other side, the Arctic heavenly demons who had received Quili's order swarmed forward and continued to besiege her from different directions. In the blink of an eye, Yushu was engulfed by the polar heavenly devils with strange bodies. At this moment, numerous moonblades suddenly fell from the sky, helping Yushu reduce many of the polar heavenly devils to dust. Dazzling sparks of light could be seen on the purple heavenly devils' souls, causing the Arctic heavenly devils that wanted to inflict serious damage on Yushu to shriek miserably. Yu Yuan looked up and saw that Tan Chun Shan's Dharma idol had once again transformed into the vague figure of a god with 3 moons floating behind him. One of the moons was the spiritual tool that he had cultivated with his life. Yu Yi and the dragon beheading platform were among them. At this moment, Tan Chun Shan looked like a god that controlled all the moons in the sky. His enormous divine figure was shaking his loose sleeves. The numerous moonblades and moonlight beams not only destroyed the polar heavenly devils, but also reduced the crypt race and dozens of mutant blood demons that had been possessed by the blood demons into clouds of blood mist in the blink of an eye. This person's cultivation had reached the late stage of the Freedom Realm, and it was rumored that he was once the strongest free and easy character in the stellar Luna sect. Because the situation before him was too dangerous, he finally stopped holding back and began to display his strongest strength. 100 feet above the head of his Dharma idol, a sharp crescent moon-shaped weapon crushed all the monsters in its way. The crypt race, who had been possessed by the blood demon, pressed forward with indomitable will, destroying everything in its path. With a whoosh, the crescent roulette-like object suddenly flew down. Whoosh! The scarlet river of light that Queely had refined was easily pierced through by it. Yu Yuan, you and you to go in. Just keep moving forward. Tan Chun Shan's Dharma form was already in human form. With a cold face, he waved his arm that was shining with moonlight and grabbed the other 2 moons on his back. Then, he stuffed them into the crescent object below. Miraculously, the 2 moons instantly flew into the whistling crescent-shaped weapon. Yu Yuan's heart shuddered. Taking advantage of this moment, he instantly communicated with Yutu's soul, and then morphed into a streak of crimson lightning that shot into the crescent moon. A streak of gray light flashed past as Yutu followed closely behind. She also broke free from the encirclement of the heavenly devils and returned to the crescent moon. Tan Chun Shan is indeed impressive. He has long since refined more than 1 moon. Yu Yi, who had been guarding Chen Qinghuang with all her heart, sensed the astonishing power of the spiritual tool under her feet. Seeing that more and more mutant monsters were reduced to ashes in the blink of an eye, she said, "This crescent blade was originally refined with the essence of the moon. Adding in the cores of the other 2 moons, it already possesses the aura of a divine tool." When Yu Yuan had come in, he had also noticed that the crescent moon-shaped object was releasing moon power that was even purer than before. As the moon power drifted outward, Queely and the other heavenly devils that had been encircling Yutu didn't dare to touch or face it. As the spiritual tool whizzed through the air, all who stood in its way exploded. In the blink of an eye, the crescent moon-shaped object broke through the encirclement of the mutant monsters, the crypt race, and the heavenly devils. The Goblin Temple has come to a conclusion that he's qualified to become a god. It's just that there aren't any extra slots for him. Yutu looked at the towering Dharma idol that Tan Chun Shan had left behind with reverence in her eyes as she returned. Knowing some inside information about the Goblin Temple, she said, if the Star Luna sect hadn't made any moves, and if any nascent divinity experts had died in the fierce battle against the foreign races, he would have been one of the candidates. Other than him, there's also Anwen and Jiningshuang. Zuan has been neglected and deliberately blocked from becoming a god. Towards the end, Yutu lowered her voice, as if she was afraid that others would overhear her. Swish. At this moment, Zhendo, who had drunk its fill of blood, was summoned back by Yu Yuan's soul, and landed firmly in his hand. The moment Zhendo entered his hand, Yu Yuan felt as if he could hear the screams of thousands of ferocious souls. The thirst for blood in his heart seemed to be instantly aroused, and he wanted to charge out at all costs. He hurriedly stopped himself. Taking a few deep breaths, he shouted, "We have to be careful." He had finally witnessed Tan Chun Shan's strength. If he went all out, his battle prowess might even be higher than ancient god Golden Elephant's. In the depths of the Starry River, he probably wouldn't even be afraid of fighting Menk of the Blood Devil alone. Creak. The crescent moon-shaped object's whistling momentum came to an abrupt stop. A demonic figure that was as tall as a mountain suddenly appeared from the darkness, holding a golden halberd. A demonic figure that was pieced together by countless colorful armors stood in front of the weapon. The golden halberd pierced into the whistling weapon, shooting out billions of rays of golden light. Adler of the prime devil race. There was also a demonic god with a misty demonic aura standing on a thick book. The book was filled with countless demonic characters, shining like a black sun. This demonic god was like a fairy from the 9 heavens, with colorful ribbons fluttering around her. It was Simitz of the heart demon race. These 2 devil gods, who had appeared in the forbidden land of Fallen Moon and the Thousand-Bird Realm, had actually joined forces to block the Crescent Moon's path. "It's you." Yu Yuan's expression was dark. He looked again and found that behind Adler and Simitz were flickering devil gods. There should be many more foreign heavenly devils hiding in the dark. He had fought side by side with Adler and Simitz in the forbidden land of Fallen Moon. In the Thousand-Bird Realm, these 2 had left first. Logically speaking, Adler and Simitz should be loyal to the current heavenly devil patriarch, not the great devil god Grek. Why were they here? "Yu Yuan, leave Princess Qing Luan here. We'll let you go immediately." The fairy-like devil god Simitz bowed slightly and even saluted him seriously. Then, she explained, "We're not following Grek's orders. We're not here for the blood devil race either. We're here because of the patriarch's orders." "Princess Qing Luan must die." Adler interrupted and shouted. The supreme of the prime devil race received Grek's message and learned that the immortal bird will be resurrected in Princess Qing Luan's body. Therefore, he summoned the high priest and told him to come to the dark domain as soon as possible. Tan Chun Shan's towering Dharma idol paled. The high priest of the prime devil race. Whoosh! He suddenly withdrew his Dharma idol and stood between the crescent moon and devil god Adler in his human form. He said, "Let's talk." The prime devil race. Yutu's expression was grave. Spots of strange light seemed to explode in her green demonic eyes. As if she was afraid that Yu Yuan didn't know what was going on, she secretly imparted to Yu Yuan the knowledge that the Goblin Temple had specially taught her before she entered the outer realms of the stars. The blood devil race wasn't the strongest race of the outer realms of the heavenly devils in this vast universe. The blood devil race was only second. Before Grek was born and ascended to become a great devil god, the blood devil race was only fifth. 4 tens of thousands of years, the strongest race of the outer realms of the heavenly devils had never changed. It had always been Adler's prime devil race. The patriarch of the prime devil race was also the current patriarch of the outer realms of the heavenly devils. He was also the leader who had killed the immortal bird. He was a being who had lived for more than 100,000 years, and had always been recognized as the strongest in the universe. Compared to him, the great devil god Grek was just a young boy. Grek had always wanted to challenge and surpass him. The immortal bird can't be resurrected. Adler and Simitz shouted at the same time. Chapter 1157. The 2 demon gods, Adler and Simitz, appeared from the shadows and intercepted the howling crescent moon. The blood demon Queely, the polar heavenly devil, the numerous mutant fiends, and the crypt race possessed by the blood demons at the back all remained calm and stopped in their track. They were all heavenly devils from the outer realms, but they were clearly on a different side from Adler and Simitz. Behind Adler and Simitz, there were many demon gods still hiding. They seemed like they could come out at any time and kill all the enemies. Above the crescent moon, Yu Yuan looked down and stared deeply at Princess Qing Luan. She was so beautiful that she didn't look like a mortal at all. Her beauty was too unreal. He was filled with bitterness and helplessness. Yutu's message made him realize why Adler and Simitz had suddenly appeared in the dark domain and formed a temporary alliance with the blood demon race, which they didn't like. It was because they thought that the immortal bird that spread death and destruction would be reborn by Chen Qinghuang. The strongest expert of the prime demon race had joined forces with the star race, Azura race, dark spirit race, light race, and other rank 10 experts to hunt down the immortal bird and kill it in the Annihilation Star domain 100,000 years ago. Of course, he didn't want to see her reappear in the world 100,000 years later. How could she not take revenge once she was reborn? All of a sudden, a thought flashed through Yu Yuan's mind. In Thousand Bird Realm, Yu Yuan vaguely remembered Chen Qinghuang saying that he had to inherit the will left behind by the immortal bird. That was why she had coldly watched as the new nobles and powerful figures of various races gathered in Thousand Bird Realm were eroded by the cold currents and slaughtered by the Azura race warriors and mutant fiends. Was it possible that she had known that she was the reborn of the immortal bird? After dispersing in Blue Phoenix City, she had rushed into the outer realms and found the Annihilation Lair with mysterious guidance. She had comprehended the power of regeneration from it and returned to the Freedom Realm. Had she already guessed the truth and knew who he was? Yu Yuan. Tan Chun Shan took a deep breath and turned to look at him beside the dragon-slaying platform. He said in a low voice, "There are 2 level 10 great demon gods in the Prime Devil clan. Apart from the clan leader, the high priest of the Prime Devil clan was also a great devil god with a longer history than Grek. Since the high priest is on his way here, He had a troubled expression on his face. Yushu and Yui also remained silent at this moment. Adler and Simitz represented another group of extraterrestrial devils with a deeper foundation and stronger combat strength. As for this batch of ancient Outer Realm heavenly demons, their relationship with the Shunhun sect and the Tongtian Trading Company was quite good. Recently, they were still in the honeymoon period. Both sides worked together to promote the magnificent feat of entering the Howren and the Thousand Birds world. According to Adler and Simitz, as long as Yu Yuan was willing to hand over Princess Qingluan, they would let him go. On their side, they wouldn't care about the Blood Devil clan's thoughts and actions at all. They were purely here for Princess Qingluan. As for Chen Qinghuang, their relationship didn't seem to be so deep that they would fight another batch of extraterrestrial devils for her. Moreover, if the high priest of the Prime Devil clan arrived, they wouldn't have a chance of winning even if they fought with their lives on the line. You too. Yu Yuan frowned and looked at Tan Chun Shan. He said in a low voice. Chen Qinghuang had broken through the dark red barrier that was infiltrated by the will of the Yang bloodline because she had manifested that strange 3-in-1 Dharma idol on the primordial blood continent and used the power of destruction and regeneration nests to hug the dragon-slaying platform. Because of this, she had exposed herself. Grek and Menk had seen through her and believed that the immortal bird would be resurrected through her. Because of this, she had been forced into a coma because she had used up too much energy. But now, Yu Yuan, I know that little Chen became like this because she wanted to take everyone away from the primordial blood continent. Tan Chun Shan withdrew his gaze, as if he didn't dare to look into Qin Lai's eyes and see the disappointment in his eyes. I've known little Chen for a long time. In the past 200 years, I've fought side by side with her in the Outer Realms several times. I even saved her. But she's the immortal bird. Tan Chun Shan didn't finish his sentence. He knew that Yu Yuan would understand. The reason he didn't dare to say it was because he was afraid that Adler and Simitz, the 2 great demon gods, would become even more excited after learning the truth. The immortal bird had wiped out countless beings in countless domains 100,000 years ago. It could be said that she was the mortal enemy of all beings. Most of the intelligent beings in the current world, except for the winged race, had been persecuted by the immortal bird and lost their realms because of her. The humans and demons of Howren didn't want the immortal bird to come back to life, and they didn't want to see her spread death and destruction. Tan Chun Shan even thought that the Shunhun sect and the Tongtian Trading Company might have the same idea. Since Chen Qinghuang was related to the immortal bird, she should be completely annihilated along with the immortal bird. This was the general trend, and no one could stop it. Master, let's give her to Adler. Yui didn't like Chen Qinghuang in the first place. After learning that she was the reincarnation of the immortal bird, she felt that this woman was mysterious and dangerous. Yu Yuan also mentioned that after Chen Qinghuang woke up again, the mysteries of destruction, regeneration, and death would most likely merge into one. At that time, Chen Qinghuang would be the complete immortal bird. She would be either a nascent divinity or a demon god, or both. Who wouldn't be fearful of an existence that had killed countless people 100,000 years ago? Who wouldn't be afraid of him? Who wouldn't be terrified? In Howren, the Shunhun sect and the 5 supreme experts were fighting. Outside of Howren, the extraterrestrial devils were fighting among themselves. All the intelligent species were involved. The universe was already messy and complicated enough. If a brand new immortal bird was born, wouldn't the world be torn apart? How many known realms would be destroyed because of this? Would the billions of living beings once again walk towards destruction and death because of her? Many extraterrestrial devils, Tan Chun Shan, and Yui all looked at the beautiful figure in the crescent moon on the dragon-slaying platform and felt extremely depressed. The moment Yu Yuan opened his mouth, he saw that Tan Chun Shan was shaking his head at him. He seemed to be telling him not to act rashly if he knew that it was impossible. I have my own beliefs. Yu Yuan stood next to the dragon-slaying platform and put one hand on the smooth surface of the platform. He looked at Tan Chun Shan and said, I understand the logic, and I know what to do to make a better choice. I don't even see the slightest hope. After he said that, Adler and Simitz, who didn't know him well, were relieved. Seeing that he had made it clear, the 2 demon gods thought that he had thought it through and would give Chen Qinghuang to them obediently so that they wouldn't have to fight each other. Tan Junshan hadn't known him for a long time, but because he thought highly of him, he had carefully studied his temperament for a while. Hearing this, he couldn't help but rub his temples. As he rubbed, he let out a long sigh. Do you really want to die? The point is, there isn't even the slightest chance. Stubborn, you have to look at the environment you're in. Master? Yui shouted. Shut up. Yu Yuan's tone was cold as he looked at her expressionlessly. Remember your identity. Yui was shocked. She hurriedly lowered her head and said softly, Yes. I thought that someone who the patriarch thought highly of could be very outstanding. The mocking laughter of the old blood demon Quigley floated out from behind the crescent moon. This expert, who was proficient in spatial power, passed through the polar heavenly demons and numerous mutated monsters, and suddenly appeared behind Adler and Simitz. Quigley was suddenly surprised. He bowed to the flickering demonic figure behind Adler and Simitz. He seemed to have seen that there was a powerful extraterrestrial demon expert hiding in the shadows, so he bowed like a junior. His behavior made Tan Chun Shan's heart even heavier. He immediately knew that there was an even more powerful demon god behind Simitz and Adler, and it had to be an old demon who had lived for a long time. After Quigley received a response from the shadows, he turned around and looked at the crescent moon side by side with Adler and Simitz. I didn't expect him to be so stupid and so unreasonable. Sigh, I'm relieved now. He understood that Yu Yuan had made the worst and stupidest decision despite everyone's persuasion. But what was the point? What could he do if he didn't have the corresponding combat strength after making a decision? Quigley sneered. A gentle voice came from the shadows behind Adler and Simitz. It spoke perfectly in human language. If that's the case, then don't hesitate any longer. You can act now. Tan Chun Shan's expression changed abruptly. He raised his hand and shouted, Don't let me do it! I will capture him and hand Princess Qing Luan over to you. High Priest, give me some face, and also give face to Taisher of the Shenhun sect. You haven't become a god yet. You don't have that kind of face. If it's the Grand Supreme. The High Priest of the Prime Devil race, who was hiding in the dark, hesitated for a moment before saying, "You do it." "All right. I'll do it, I'll do it." Tan Chun Shan ignored his mockery. As if afraid that he would go back on his word, he hurriedly agreed. Luck. As he turned around and shouted, the crescent moon blade suddenly shrank. Rings of brilliant moonlight gathered together with the weapon blade, like a blooming flower. The petals moved towards the bud, condensing into a flower bud. Inside the crescent moon blade, Yu-Tu, Yui, and Yu-Yuan seemed to be frozen in time. Their spirit power, flesh aura, and soul awareness were all bound by Tan Chun Shan's power. They were restrained by the cool moon power and the great Tao laws, unable to break free of the crescent moon blade. It was about to become a divine item, and its wielder was Tan Chun Shan, a late-stage Freedom Realm expert. Yu-Yuan and the others just happened to be inside. There was nowhere to run. There was nowhere to run. "I'm doing this for your own good, Yu-Yuan. Don't blame me." Tan Chun Shan's helpless voice slowly rang out from inside the crescent moon blade. Yu-Tu and Yui didn't struggle or do anything unnecessary when they saw how the situation was developing. They obviously agreed with Tan Chun Shan's actions. They knew that whatever Tan Chun Shan did now was to protect Yu-Yuan in another way. They only cared about Yu-Yuan, not Princess Qingluan. They were happy to see this happen. Chapter 1158. On the dragon-slaying platform, which was as smooth as a mirror, Chen Qinghuang's body was cold. Her peerlessly beautiful face that could captivate all living beings was like a piece of art that was meticulously carved by the gods. It was flawless and conformed to the aesthetic standards of all living beings. Whether it was the men of the human race, the male heroes of the foreign races, or even the great demons and strange beasts, as long as they saw this face, they would naturally feel that she was so beautiful and outstanding. Perhaps it was because of this that she rarely showed her real face. Most of the time, she wore a crown with a curtain of beads on her head. At this moment, perhaps because she smelled danger, her originally even breathing became slightly hurried. "You haven't done anything wrong with me." Looking down at her, Yu-Yuan said softly, his eyes gentle. Suddenly, Yu-Yuan felt that he and Chen Qinghuang had many similarities. Thinking of the scenes from when they first met until now, he was more and more convinced that he and Chen Qinghuang had a deep fate. "At least you didn't let me down in this life, so I can't watch you die," Yu-Yuan whispered in his heart. Strange sparks of light suddenly emerged from the dragon beheading platform where Chen Qinghuang was lying. They were so dense that they seemed to fill up the two strange little worlds inside. Yu-Yuan's left index finger slowly pressed against the acupuncture point between his eyebrows, and then he gently closed his eyes. Yui's mind was rumbling. She seemed to hear a soft murmur from the past. As the artifact soul of the fiend demon cauldron, her delicate and beautiful body suddenly trembled violently. "Master," she moved behind Yu-Yuan, lowered her head and knelt on one knee. "Just like the previous 2 times. In the Thousand-Bird Realm, you refused to wake up. In the Origin Blood Continent, you were hesitant. Now, because of Princess Qingluan, you want to awaken your first self." Yui's shoulders trembled as she kept shaking her head. Her mind was so shocked that she didn't know what to do. She couldn't understand why Yu-Yuan was willing to lose his knowledge of geography and accept the other self he had always resisted for Chen Qinghuang, who wasn't very close to him. Don't wake up. Please, I'd rather see you take me to see the vast scenery in outer space with your current identity," she murmured in her heart. She knew that Yu-Yuan could hear and sense everything. However, Yu-Yuan didn't pay her any attention. Tan Chun Shan and Yu Zhu, who was in the gradually closing crescent moon, didn't know what was going on. Zap, zap, zap. One after another, dazzling space-time rifts were torn open near the crescent moon. Unlike the spatial rifts in many realms, the spatial rifts that quietly opened at this moment carried the mysterious power of space-time chaos. This caused Kaylee, who was standing close to one of the spatial rifts, to appear as if he had regained his youth. Staring at one of the rifts that was filled with dancing fireflies, Query sensed it with his abyss devil soul. Then, the space-time power within it poured into him. This blood demon elder, who had lived for more than 3,000 years and had reached the 9th grade, sensed the loss of his strength in fear. The blood power he had refined for the past 800 years was gone. He had become much younger and vigorous, but his bloodline had dropped to the 8th grade because of this. 800 years of hard work was gone in an instant. Query was scared out of his wits. Zap! A strange space-time rift suddenly appeared in the area where the mutant devilish creatures had stopped. The devilish creatures, whose souls and bodies had been corrupted by the tainted power, gradually regained the light of spirituality in their eyes. They seemed to have returned to a time when they hadn't been corrupted by the tainted power, and were looking around in confusion. Crack! The shrinking crescent moon suddenly stopped, and the brilliant moon power could no longer gather. The long dragon-slaying platform seemed to shine with vigor as soon as Yu Yuan touched it with her hand. He closed his eyes and pressed the tip of his other hand between his eyebrows. It was as if a third eye was growing under his fingertips. Time seemed to stop, and space seemed to freeze. Except for Yu Yuan, everything within 1,000 kilometers of the dragon beheading platform, including time and space, was overturned, and the truths of the great Tao were distorted. After a while, he removed his finger from his forehead. A gigantic shadow of a soul that had shrunk billions of times appeared between his eyebrows, as if it was looking at the outside world with the help of the space-time power in the deepest part of his soul. Yu Yuan, whose eyes were tightly shut, seemed to have opened her third eye. She held Chen Qinghuang with one arm and gently held the dragon-slaying platform with the other. He stepped out of the crescent moon, which had stopped shrinking, and slowly walked in the air. Then, he stopped in front of Tan Chun Shan. The strange shadow of the soul between his eyebrows seemed to give Tan Chun Shan a deep look. Tan Chun Shan, who had reached the late stage of the Freedom Realm and was expected to inherit the godhood position in the future, stood as still as a rock. He wanted to move, but he couldn't. His flesh, blood, spirit, and sea of consciousness were all sealed. His soul could only vaguely see a terrifying soul shadow in his sea of consciousness. This soul shadow almost suffocated him, and made his 3 souls tremble. After a glance, Yu Yuan withdrew his gaze and pointed at Query of the blood demon with the long dragon beheading platform. Query instantly shattered into countless pieces like a porcelain vase that had fallen to the ground. Pieces of flesh and blood were still in place, not falling off at all. The mountain-like Adler and the goddess-like Simits maintained their original postures, not moving at all. Even their devil souls couldn't move. His thoughts and consciousness were also frozen by the power of time. Chi. Behind Adler and Simits, there was a dark abyss where strange noises could be heard. It was as if something was tearing at the space-time barrier with all its might, desperately trying to break into this world from a certain realm of space-time and break the wondrous land that was completely frozen under the joint force of time and space. Unfortunately, he never succeeded. The illusory figure between Yu Yuan's eyebrows, which had shrunk hundreds of millions of times, looked at the darkness with interest and waited for a while. The thing on the other side still couldn't come in as it wished. Puff, puff, puff. Other than Adler and Simits, there were also the polar heavenly devil, the crypt race who had been possessed by the blood demon, and the mutated demons. There was also another group of heavenly devils that was about to arrive 1,000 kilometers away. They were reduced to blood mist and ashes one after another. Moreover, after the blood mist exploded, it became strangely still. After a while, Yu Yuan, who was indescribably strange, seemed to feel bored. He gently held the dragon beheading platform and pointed it at an open space-time rift. The winds and clouds in the rift suddenly changed, changing the channel and the coordinates according to his will. Not long after, a star field with bright stars and a sun and a moon slowly appeared inside. The star domain gradually became clear and locked onto a dark yellow star, magically connecting it to this place. He hesitated for a moment before turning around to look at Yui, who was kneeling on one knee with her head bowed in front of her chest. His expression was somewhat complicated. Sigh. He let out a deep sigh, but didn't say anything in the end. Holding Chen Qinghuang with one hand and the dragon beheading platform with the other, he entered the space-time rift unhurriedly. He didn't bring Yui and Yushu with him. The moment he entered the space-time rift, his aura and the wondrous power of the dragon beheading platform were withdrawn. After he disappeared, the space-time rifts rapidly healed one after another. The laws of this domain and the collapsed Great Tao seemed to be pieced together again. The first to break free of the space-time seal was Tan Chunshan. He shuddered, his face filled with shock. After him, Yushu, Yui, Adler, and Simitz woke up one after another. Everyone looked at each other, not knowing what had happened. Splash! Quelly, who had been reduced to pieces of flesh, was thrown down. The strange spatial power that came from Quelly's body had extinguished his blood, soul, and heart. As a result, Quelly lost the chance to regenerate. Where's Yu Yuan? Where's Princess Qing Luan? Adler and Simitz, the two devil gods, looked around. After discovering that Yu Yuan and Chen Qinghuang were missing, they immediately panicked and screamed. They're all dead. All of the heavenly devils who were loyal to Grek are dead. Yushu looked around in confusion. Looking at the floating fiendish demon cauldron and sensing the fiendish devils coming to life again, Yui, as the cauldron's soul, began to sob softly. As she cried, she muttered to herself, "Are you going to abandon me just like this?" You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.